Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. I am Mr. Warren Hayes, and this is the part of the world where we talk about professional wrestling for a couple of hours. When I say we, I mean me. Thank you very much for being here. Whether you're watching on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes or listening on your favorite podcast application, I appreciate it tremendously. Want to give a little shout out to, more than a shout out, and a nice warm greeting to all of the new subscribers who are on YouTube right now. There's been a pretty big uptick over the past few, at least for me. Let's not go crazy here. We're not talking Mr. Beast numbers, at the very least, I'm appreciative of all the new subscribers. Hope you find, if this is your first time listening to the podcast, which might be the case, because I've been doing shorter videos and whatnot, and they've been doing God's work as well. If this is the first time listening to the podcast proper, well, you're welcome. It's my pleasure to have you here. Hope you stick around. But whether you're old or new, leave a like on this video here. That would be tremendous. And maybe you're popping in here and you're not subscribed. Well, consider a subscription. That would be tremendous. And if you're listening to this on your favorite podcast application, thank you very much again. Just a tremendous, more tremendous stuff. More tremendous people tuning in over there. 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, 5-star rating on Spotify. All that stuff would be extraordinary, would be excellent, would be a great way to show a little bit of support for what we do here on the Mr. Warren Hayes Show proper. It's the usual stuff, right? You come here, you hang out, you listen to the stuff, and then you can come join us in the Discord. The Mr. Warren Hayes Show Discord link is in the description. Nice little place for wrestling fans to come and hang out and chat, and there's some off-topic channels as well. So it's not 100% about wrestling. It's not like me. It's all I talk about, and then I scare people away. Go see my therapist, and I'm talking about, Misawa matches, and he's like, "Sir, could we talk about your problems?" Anyway, don't forget. That's it. Don't forget to pop in the Discord and whatnot. That's pretty much it. We got a pretty big show planned for tonight. I'm not going to lie. It's a pretty big show. It's a review show. We're doing reviews. We're doing mostly, essentially, we're doing reviews except for one thing. And that's even if we have time to get to it, we'll probably will. I hope so. We probably will. I mean, it's not as if I'm on borrowed time here. I can take as much time as I want. I just don't want to subject everyone here to, interminable podcasts, right? Oh boy, another 3-hour wrestling podcast, I mean, it happens, especially when I start trailing off like this. We're doing reviews. There's been a lot of wrestling over the weekend that I was able to watch, or catch up with, and we're going to be reviewing all of that. Of course, we're going to be reviewing WrestleMania 40. I think I would be remiss not to. NXT Stand and Deliver 2020-24 will also be reviewed, as will be the Ring of Honor Supercard of Honor 2024 show that happened this weekend, and the New Japan Pro Wrestling Sakura Genesis show, Sakura Genesis 2024. And towards the tail end, we'll preview Windy City Riot, which is happening this upcoming weekend. So, the world of pro wrestling never stops. It just keeps on trucking, just keeps on going and going and going. So we're gonna keep an eye, and we're gonna keep our eyes on all of that. So, again, thank you everyone for being here. I didn't do it last week. Last week was my first podcast back since my surgery. And I sort of listen back to certain key points, to just be like, did I do good? Did it suck? I usually do this. I think, look, I know a lot of people don't like to listen back to their stuff. I like the number of podcasters that I know who are like, no, I can't listen to myself. I can't stand, listening to myself. It's weird. I understand, I not to berate, I understand how people might feel that way and, how it creates a dissonance and whatnot. But I think it's important to listen back to what you do, because then you put yourself in the position really of a listener and you're like, okay, this I need to improve, this I need to change, so on and so forth. Anyway, per usual, see, this is one of the things that I do. I listen to myself and I always note to myself, I say, Warren, you over-explain things too much. You work people through your thought process a little too much. You could be more concise, but you get so deep into it that you lose, you sort of lose track and you lose people, I'm sure. So, and here we are again. So basically, I'm listening back a little last week and starting things off, and I was like, oh, I didn't do the weekly wrestling inspection theme. So, ladies and gentlemen, are you ready? Here we go. We're gonna kick things off with the weekly wrestling inspection. WrestleMania 40, folks. We're gonna start off the show with the big one, WrestleMania 40, which occurred this past weekend, 2 nights, April 6 and 7, over at the Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Huge turnout. Whichever way you want to slice it. Just a tremendously big event. There were a lot of people on hand, huge crowds. WWE reported their attendance for night 1 to be in the vicinity of 72,543, whereas night 2 was announced at 72,420. 72,755 for night 2. Now, what I find interesting, really curious, is that the capacity for seating people at the Lincoln Stadium, Lincoln Financial Field, excuse me, I'll get it right, is 67,594. So what they're telling us is that there were more people in the audience than there were seats available. Now, you can make the argument, and look, again, I want to preface this, especially if there's new people jumping in. All wrestling promotions sweeten their numbers. That's not the point. And I just take a moment here to talk about it and go, and it's not necessarily a WWE thing. Although WWE is does some notorious sweetening, and we know they take into consideration a bunch of things. Right? Remember the everything with a heartbeat kind of thing, and Vince McMahon, saying on a media call not too long ago, maybe a year or two ago, 2 or 3 years ago, maybe, saying, oh yeah, these numbers are for entertainment purposes. It's like, they're not real numbers. They're just for entertainment purposes. Okay. So, we just talk about capacity because we talk about attendance because we talk about the business aspect here, and wrestling is a multi-billion-dollar business. I think it's fair that it undergoes scrutiny. Absolutely. So to circle back here, okay, so the capacity, 67,594 is the official seating capacity for the stadium, but maybe, but of course those are the actual built-in seats, right? It's, during a football game, you don't have floor seats, right? Now you have floor seats during WrestleMania, so you can add more people to the event than the regular capacity because you're throwing down floor seats, and the floors seem pretty full. At the same time, when I say you, I mean WWE is also, eliminating seats, available seats in the stadium itself, in the bowl, in the ends, or at least in one end, for their stage setup. Now, I would assume, I'm no scientist here, but let's say I was, my working hypothesis would be that the seats they're removing because of the stage setup are compensated by the floor seats that they sell, and they sell them at a higher price and so on and so forth. So, it probably all works out best. Again, I'm not a tremendous scientist, but there's a discrepancy of about, let's just round it to 5,000 seats, in regards to the difference between stadium capacity and what they've announced. So that would mean that the entire stadium, let's just say the 72,000 number is real, right? That means the entire stadium would have been filled up, and then they would have added on more seats, 5,000 seats more on the floor. And that doesn't sound super conducive. That I find a little dubious. I don't know. Look, I'm sure, I know there's going to be people who are going to dig into this a little more, but it's not ultimately that big a deal. But I also don't trust wrestling promotions. So, when I'm being told that it's 72,000 both nights, I'm like, yeah, come on. They announced 16,000 people for the Stand and Deliver show. There wasn't 16,000 people there. You could see. That's not what that is. That there's not 16,000 people there. It doesn't make sense. Anyway, I mean, look, outside of that, the show is exactly what I said last week when I did the preview, and what I mean when I talk about every WrestleMania moving forward. It is not a show for wrestling fans. It's not a show for wrestling fans. It's a show for WWE fans, for people who like this type of spectacle. Me, myself, I get annoyed. I get annoyed because there's too much bullshit. There's too much length between the matches. And again, because all I can do is talk about how I feel. And if I'm sitting down to watch a wrestling match, I want to watch wrestling. It's just that simple. If I'm sitting down, waiting 15 minutes between matches to get an 8-minute match, I'm like, what the fuck are we doing here? And this is WrestleMania. Everything should be, it should be rolling. The pace should be faster. But, we have to make time for all the oodles of sponsorships. But I don't want to, or should I? I mean, we're the advertisements. I might as well just knock it out of the way, right? I wanted to talk about it later, but we'll do it now. The advertisements on this show, the sponsorships is what I should say, as opposed to the advertisements. It's nuts. when Nick Khan, what was it, 2 months ago, a month and a half ago, said, "Oh yeah, we're gonna go harder with our we're gonna go harder with our sponsorships. We believe there's so many opportunities and whatnot." People thought, "Oh, it's the Prime bottle." It's like, oh boy. And honestly, that is a big deal for WWE to put a sponsorship on their ring. That is a huge deal. And by the way, everyone in WWE was assuring their fans, "Oh, but guys, it's just the Prime bottle. That's all. It'll just be that, and we're not gonna add into stuff everywhere, and it's just gonna be the Prime bottle, right?" But you had the Prime turnbuckles, right? I don't know if you noticed. I did. I saw that. So, they discolored it though, and I think that was a smart choice too. Look, this is what I'm trying to get at. I'm trying to go down multiple paths here, but we'll try and keep it on rails here. If there is one thing, that to me screams the end of the Vince McMahon influence in WWE, it's this. It's exactly this. Vince stopped. Vince would always balk at putting sponsors on the ring, in the ring. For him, that was the canvas, for multiple reasons. And probably because he just saw, well, what are we going to do later with the footage when they stop paying? Their footage is still going to go around. We'll still be giving them money, kind of exposure. That's probably part of it too. But he always sort of clasped onto that, and no, we're not gonna. So for me, like, even over, commentary saying wrestling or commentary referencing other promotions, and even outside of all of that, this is an even bigger indication to me that Vince is truly hands off and has nothing to do with this, and that they're moving in different directions than what Vince wanted to do. So, and as someone who watches Japanese wrestling, the sponsorships in the ring, it doesn't bother me. It doesn't get to me. Like, it's fine. I can understand why some folks are more bothered about it, but me, it doesn't do anything for me. But me, it's not as much that as the LEDs around the ring. Oh, they didn't put them in the ring, but around the ring, and the barricade facing hard cam, and then the little sponsorships in the upper hand corner, and the ring posts. I mean, it gave us a couple of good chuckles. When Dude Wipes would sponsor a women's match, which I think is really funny. It's very overwhelming at some point. And if anything, because of the fact that there's screens, that there's a little animation, it's not too much, but that there's screens, and then they're putting this, on your, at the up in the corners and whatnot. It gets overwhelming, and it does get distracting. It gets distracting from the content that you're already paying to watch. You're paying your Peacock subscription to watch this regardless. I know it's not like buying a pay-per-view, but at some point, there's this idea that you can only go that you can only put so much stuff on TV before it completely distracts from what you're watching. Anyway, that was a curious thing to deal with. I wasn't fully prepared. I was, they prepped us for the Prime bottle, but I wasn't primed for Dude Wipes. Wasn't prepared for, what was that, America Home Shield? Was that the America Home Shield sponsoring the main event? Was that it? I don't remember. I don't remember specifically the name, but I remember. I think that's what it was. The home security guys. You have LA Knight arrive in his Slim Jim car. All right. It's fine, Anyway. The show itself, both nights, look, I'm ambivalent. Yeah, as per usual when it comes to these two nights affairs, I think it's difficult to get like a through line and be consistent when it comes to quality. I thought night one was bad. Just straight up, outright, be honest with you folks. I thought night one was not good. I thought night two was better. I think overall was good. But I say that hesitantly because, there's nothing that happened at WrestleMania this year that just blew my mind, and where I'm like, there wasn't here I go again, trying to say too many things at once, and then physically I'm incapable of doing that because humans can't do that. Okay. WrestleMania usually will have like one or two great matches, like, and unquestionably, matches where you're like, this is great. And, top notch, great stuff. Last year we had, Rhea and Charlotte. That was great. The tag team match, the undisputed tag team championship match, that was great. But this year, it's like there was nothing for me anyway that there was good stuff. Don't get me wrong, and as we talk about it, you'll see. But there's nothing that just stood out from the pack and just blew my mind. And I think this was the case for a lot of WrestleMania weekend matches, or events anyway, that it was kind of like a generalized feeling where there's stuff happening, but nothing's great, nothing's standing out, nothing look, the best match that happened on WrestleMania weekend this year happened in Mexico on Friday, where Bryan Danielson and 65-year-old Blue Panther put on a masterclass. I don't know what to tell you. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about WrestleMania and how I'm a little stunned as to how there was nothing great. Now, WWE fans will tell you the opposite. And right now you're saying, but Warren, the main event. We'll get to that. But spoiler, I didn't hate it. Okay? I did not hate the main event, but we'll get to that. You'll understand why I'm not sitting here going, this is one of the great. And I see people clamoring this as being one of the greatest WrestleMania of all time. People are going harsh on the hyperbole. Not harsh, but heavy on the hyperbole. Excuse me for the throat, by the way. It's baffling. Look, you might have really enjoyed night two. Night two was a much better time than night one. But if you're going to take WrestleMania in and about itself, the whole 2 nights, the whole experience, the whole kit and caboodle, you're going to put that all together and you're going to deliver that. It's just like, no, this is not what this is not a great WrestleMania. Far from it. It's a nice little WrestleMania. Some low points. I would even say it touched one of the lowest points in WrestleMania history at some point. Spoiler. Just dropping the this is what I'm aware of what I'm doing. Just dropping some things, just dropping some tidbits here. One of the low points of WrestleMania. I wonder what he's talking about. I might have to listen to this whole thing then. It's tactics. I just didn't think it was impressive as far as it wasn't an impressive WrestleMania. It didn't throw me to the ground. Look, I understand WWE fans are excited about the title change. They're excited about Roman taking some time off. They're excited about the new era. They're living a high right now. But I objectively believe that this is not one of the greatest WrestleManias of all time. I wouldn't even put it in the top 10. I don't think it was that good. Again, I thought night 2 was much better than night 1, but night 1 was the pits. You put this all together, and you're like, well, but listen, look. Might be getting ahead of myself. And Cody did it. This is the story, right? This is what we have to. I mean, it's hard to deny to say that there's anything else in this wacky tale that we got involved in. It's hard to imagine anything else, right? But Cody did it. Finally defeated Roman Reigns. He's Universal Champion now. And again, however you feel about the match itself, it's which we'll talk about. Don't get me wrong. Cody winning the title is special. It's good. They have built themselves. They have themselves finally another superstar, and I mean in the Oxford Dictionary sense of the word. Right? Not the WWE sense, because they're all superstars. But a true to form star. Comes in, looks, acts, feels the part. That's him. And I think the path we have to, I know the story of this match was finishing the ultimately Dusty story, right? This was the thing. Cody comes in 2 years ago and basically says, I'm going to do what my father never did. I'm going to do it for him, right? So this is what this was about, him finishing the Dusty story, right? I know that's what it is. But to me, the more interesting story is the culmination of this Cody Rhodes story, okay? This is a guy that, what was it? Like 12 years ago? A decade ago, 12 years ago, is in WWE, and they have no vision for him. They got nothing. He's Goldust's little sidekick. They're making him wear face paint. They're doing the mustache, the handsome Cody Rhodes stuff. They don't know what to do with him, right? And he has a vision of himself that does not connect with WWE. So what does he do? After he's gone from the company, he goes and he makes himself a name on the indies. Becomes a top name on the independent circuit, right? Just a guy that, and he works it and he grinds it and he networks and connects and he works New Japan Pro Wrestling in the meantime. And then he's in Bullet Club. Like, he's always in these big angles. He's in these big, events happening in independent wrestling. He created All In, with the Bucks, still the biggest drawing indie show of all time in North America. Launched AEW, creating an entirely different landscape for pro wrestling in North America. And then he comes back to the company who didn't care for him 10 years ago, but now makes him their biggest star and effectively make him the face of this new era that WWE is embarking upon. That, to me, is a compelling as fuck story. That's something that I'm like, yep. And that's tremendous. That is all on Cody Rhodes, who decided not to get complacent, not to feel sorry for himself, but to make himself, as he said famously in the build up to the first All In or AEW, but he famously said he famously said, and I can't think of the quote, from unwanted to undeniable or something like that, right? Undeniable. Make himself undeniable. When Cody left AEW and got into WWE, you're like, that's it. And you can, as I did, we can all sit around and say, oh, this was Cody's plan all along. And fucking good for him. Good for him if this was his plan all along. To hit the bricks, do all of this, start this, do all sorts of projects, and elevate himself. Put himself in a position where he can go sit down with Vince McMahon and say, yeah, you know, Vince, I can come back to this company and be a big deal. And Vince goes, yep, you're right, pal. You're right, kid. Let's bring you back. That to me is a much more compelling tale than whatever they want to make up about, Dusty and the WWF title, and sure, maybe Dusty never really cared, or maybe he did. I don't know. But it's tremendous. And look, this is what I mean. Longtime listeners will oftentimes hear me talk about making new stars, building stars, and then they're going to, that WWE doesn't do it. That they can't seem to develop new stars, but then they tell me, so, well, but Liv Morgan is, no. I'm talking stars, this is what I mean. This is exactly Cody Rhodes is exactly what I talk about when I say it's time to make new stars. A guy who comes in, is presented as a big deal, maintained as a big deal, protected, and built to this moment that puts him over as a star. This is it. Like, there's no one watching WWE who thinks that Cody Rhodes is not the guy. There's no one. And how many times in the 2010s, late 2000s, mid to late 2010s, how many times did people believe undeniably that Roman Reigns was the guy? That was a debate, an ongoing debate, because he was pushed down our throats. And, you could still argue Roman Reigns still isn't, but that's a whole other discussion. But when you got Dwayne Johnson in the ring, standing there next to Cody Rhodes, and Cody doesn't exactly feel out of place, I think it's tremendous. And I mean, doesn't exactly feel out of place, because how do you compare to Dwayne Johnson? Like, worldwide phenomenon, charismatic human, like one of the most charismatic you could name on one hand. Guys like Johnson, who commanded audiences like that. So, when I say not exactly, this isn't a knock on Cody. There's people who stand next to him, Dwayne, and are just dwarfed by this guy's presence. Cody feels a little more special. It feels a little more special. And that's because of the work they put in. That's because of the work that WWE put in to make Cody a believable star, and also Cody's work himself on top of that all as well. Isn't it funny how the business of making stars in pro wrestling is still the same as it was 30 years ago, 20 years ago? Isn't that odd? Bring a guy in, make him feel convincing, push him, give him big wins, protect him. Isn't that strange? And you look at all of this and look, I still think Cody should have won last year. I think Cody was hotter last year. I'm not saying that he's not hot. I'm saying he was hotter last year. Kind of makes you wonder how much Vince didn't want Cody as champion. At least last year. I don't know. Because last year still doesn't make sense, but we're not going to rehash that, okay? Cody's a guy who went out to prove himself. He did. He came back. But look, if we're being honest with each other, okay? He went and made himself a star. He didn't, because he knew this wasn't going to happen in WWE. He went out of the company to make himself, as he said, undeniable, so that when he did come back, he'd be frozen like this, right? And I'm not saying this, okay, it's a little bit of them bringing Cody in and making him the star that he was. Isn't it a little bit because they took one of AEW's guys? Wasn't that a little part of it? Sure, I'm sure that played a significant part actually. But the point is that it still happened nonetheless. And Cody came back, and I don't want to rag on the fact that, well, look, because again, I'm trying to say too many things. The point that I am not trying to make here is that WWE could not make this star themselves. They had to bring a guy who left their system to make himself into a star, only to come back. Which is a valid argument to make, right? And to a degree, I think it's true and it's telling. Cody Rhodes had to leave, make himself into a star, and come back to realize his full potential and be a top guy. But that's kind of beside the point that I'm really making, which is movement in wrestling is good. And I wish this was part of the analysis that most podcasters would provide here for Cody's ascension. Is that, yes, a lot of it entirely rests on him, but being able to use the old vernacular, to leave the territory once you're done, and then maybe circle back, sometime later when you've worked other territories, you come back with new stuff, you've learned new things, so on. That's healthy. It's healthy for professional wrestling. And I wish people would just accept that they don't have to be vehemently protective of their brand, because it doesn't matter. If anything, Cody's ascension is absolute tangible proof that wrestlers leaving promotions, going to wrestle anywhere else, then come back and leave again, and what is healthy, because they don't fall into ruts, creative ruts themselves, but ruts with the creative that is bestowed upon them, that their own the creative from the bookers. It's just good. And I wish this would stand out more in the analysis that is provided. Because look, not even WWE with its billions of dollars and its innumerable resources can escape that reality. let a guy go, or one guy leaves the company, and he comes back a decade plus later, and he's their biggest star. And he didn't wrestle a lick for them in those 10 years. And he's a star. Like, they can't even escape that reality. You can have, the most sophisticated wrestling program to train people and make them into stuff. It's crazy how the old ways of doing things still fucking work. Now, it doesn't necessarily work on such a high level for everyone, because I think Cody is he's a diamond in the situation, right? He's special in this situation. But Jesus, I sit here most weeks telling y'all competition is good and it's good for talent, and you will see the differences in your products. You will see the differences. I keep saying this, and this is textbook what Cody did. Left the territory, went to another territory, and then came back to the OG territory. And he came back bigger than he was, where he was destined to be mid-card Cody, excuse me. He was destined to be mid-card Cody. Why am I saying mid-card Tony? Mid-card Cody. Destined. And he decided to switch to turn the tides of that. Is there all a question of timing? Everything is a question of timing. Oh, well, he was just at the right place at the right time. Yes! And all the more credit for him, to have seen how things are swinging. I cannot put over enough the work that Cody Rhodes has put in to get to this spot here. That is nothing but praise for me. And it worked out. And for a time I was doubting it was going to work out. I was doubting. Like, are they going to... Cowards go all the way with them, To the very... Look, knowing this company to the very last moment, even though after the results of night one, even after the results of night one, where it became apparent that Cody was winning on night two. Despite all of that, Cody was like, despite this idea that Cody was undeniably going to win, the bottom of my heart, I still had a substantial amount of doubt. I was like, this is WWE. If Paul Heyman decides, hey, you know what, my boy's not dropping his title, they got a problem, to the very end, I thought there was still a chance that Cody could lose, but he didn't. They went all the way this time, and thankfully, and good for them. I honestly think that their fan base, there's a substantial amount of the fan base that would have turned on WWE if they hadn't pulled the trigger on it. I really do. Anyway. WrestleMania was the first, as we mentioned last week, right? This was the last show that is going to be broadcast on the WWE Network worldwide. The last WrestleMania show. Because next year, everything is going to be on Netflix. So it's going to be an end of an era for the WWE Network. I guess they're going to be sunsetting that everywhere. Like in Canada, for instance. to switch everything over to Netflix. And this was the first WrestleMania that was put together without any McMahons, which is significant. The family-run business is no longer in the family, even remotely, and was the first Triple H era show, the first Paul Levesque era show, or WrestleMania anyway. And that's what we're going with. Y'all wanted it to be called the Renaissance, which I wasn't a fan of to begin with, as I talked about on the preview last week. I think calling it the Renaissance assumes that what was happening before was poor, or the dark times, right? Because that's what the Renaissance means. We were coming out of a period of history that humanity has dubbed the Dark Ages. You can either call it the Middle Ages or the Dark Ages. And the Renaissance is uplifting everything and, so on and so forth. So you have to accept that what happened previously was not good for there to be a Renaissance. You know what I mean? But they're calling it the Paul Levesque era. And listen, they can look. Paul apparently still needs the pops. The booker is still booking himself on TV. I don't want to be on TV, but I'm going to go on TV. And on night 2, he sent out Steph, which is something. People really excited to see Stephanie McMahon for some reason. I think it's. I want to know what all this means, as opposed to me being excited for Stephanie McMahon to be returning, who is also named in currently in a lawsuit against Vince. I just think it's curious. When Vince was first ousted from the company, she came back. You remember, she took some time off, and then she came back while Vince was gone to handle things, and then Vince comes back, and then she's gone again. Now Vince is gone again, and now she's back. You don't have to be Kasparov here playing Deep Blue to understand what's going on. I don't know. Look, look. Triple H brings out Steph right on the second night to do the thing, and I mean, I take this with a very mixed bag, because I know people think he's the second coming of fucking name a great booker in history, Mushnick, But I think Paul has been. I don't think he's particularly a great booker. His pay-per-views under his watch, before we officially started calling this the Paul Levesque era, I don't think they've been particularly good or great. Definitely not great, but over the past couple of months, Elimination Chamber, that was a snoozer. Didn't get a good Royal Rumble, and so on before that. Survivor Series this year, you remember that? We're going to hype this up, but I mean, this is important what they're doing here. For fan perception. It's crucial what they're doing here, where perhaps before they were, stepping on eggshells and making sure not to upset the order, because Vince, even though was removed, was still around. And I think even the most adamant supporter sort of admits and sees that now, that Vince was still around, still had his fingerprints in creative, was still calling the shots, right? And for Triple H then, WWE, to come out and say, It's the Paul Levesque era. We're moving forward. That's a break that WWE needs to do. They have to snap with the past, with the egregiousness of Vince and the allegations and how dirty it all is. They have to. You know, Nick Khan during his WrestleMania week interviews, outright buried him. Vince, saying, oh no, the allegations are awful, and he used some very strong language. So I'm like, okay, this is what so they have to do this, and Triple H is going to be that face. He's going to be that backbone, and Cody Rhodes is going to be the face. Cody Rhodes, who has never been a Vince guy. You see what they're doing here? Cody Rhodes, never been a Vince guy. A new face, essentially. A new champion for a new era. A new top guy for a new era. It's not Roman. It's not Seth. It's none of the guys that Vince had won anointed. It's not Brock. It's Cody. Cody Rhodes. So, back to the Triple H specifically. I'm not a fan. I don't think WWE pay-per-views have been that good. And they've been under Triple H's creative watch. Night 1 was absolutely down the Triple H path. Now, night 2, was a different story where I was like, finally. We have a heartbeat here. Something's going on. The troops pulled through for old Paul here at the same time. But I'm keeping this at arm's length. This broke a streak. Night 2 of WrestleMania broke a streak of bad WWE under Paul Levesque pay-per-views, PLEs. I know it. Look, I've been messing up the vernacular. Sue me. His pay-per-views have been a notable weak point of his creative. He has not been booking good pay-per-views. And if this is going to be touted as an era of greatness, it's got to deliver. So I'm just keeping it at arm's length. I watched Raw last night. And was like, okay, a Raw after WrestleMania under the Triple H era. Let's see now it's time. Let's go. You want to bring back the feeling of didn't they sort of mention this? I don't know. It was mentioned in passing by a couple of people where it's like, yeah, we're going to try and bring back the feeling of the Raw after WrestleMania days of old. And it just felt like a Raw to me with John Cena showing up and your NXT champions doing matches, having 5-minute enhancement matches. Like, none of it it didn't feel like a Raw after WrestleMania. It was, if I remember correctly, last year's Raw after WrestleMania was just a disaster. This year was not a disaster, but a 45-minute Rock segment with Cody, and it felt like another Raw. I don't know what to tell you. It just felt the same, with a couple of extra faces that you don't usually see. I don't know, I'm at arm's length with this. And I'm not throwing my hat in and saying, and clamoring for these great changes, and look, after every WrestleMania, there's a lot of optimism when it comes to WWE. People have high expectations. It's like, oh, this is this feels good. It's a refresher. It's a new season starting. But, of course, there's exceptions to these Raw after WrestleManias. Again, I think last year was compounded with cynicism. But let the feeling settle here. Let this feeling of optimism settle a little bit. And see what happens and see how much of us, how Paul Levesque can sustain this into something durable, special, and different. That's all we can ask for, is for some, WWE to be good. I want to get excited for more palpable reasons, for more tangible reasons, other than, not using the term sports entertainment anymore and replacing it with wrestlers. Let's see how it goes. Triple H has to show, don't tell. This is the spot that he's in, and I'm just being cautiously cautious. I'm just being cautious about the whole thing. Anyway, the show overall, I think I made it clear at this point with everything I've been talking about for the past almost an hour. Hey, the show was a mixed bag, and I feel like it's like that every year. I talk about this every year. I talk about it every single year. How WrestleMania is not for wrestling fans. It's for WWE fans. It's for the mainstream acceptance. It's, it's not for people like me, and I feel like it's that way overall every year. It's a mixed bag of things, and not a great match on the show at all, well, like I said, we'll talk about the night 2 main event, but to me, it's not a great match. You know what I mean? It's not a great match. Too much nonsense. Too much junk happening. Might as well talk about it right now, right? We just, let me get my notes for it. Because, it's the kind of thing where I give my little goofy, my little goofy star ratings, just to see how everything gets settled in the world of things, I don't even know how to rate this match, I don't even know how to go about it. It's like it started off as a match, don't get me wrong. It started off as a match, and a Roman match. It's very plodding, and I'm like, okay, things pick up after a little bit, but then the bullshit starts, and then I'm like, okay, here we go. When I say the bullshit, I mean the interference, right? I said, okay, here we go. But then it turns into something that is no longer a match. It's the Avengers Assemble thing. You got Jimmy and Jey Uso coming in to throw each other off the stage, and you've got Solo Sikoa, who gets punked out by John Cena, and then for some reason the Undertaker appears out of nowhere to do googly eyes at The Rock and chokeslam him. Like I don't know what that was all about. And the match was fine enough. I can't even tell you they were about to hit a second gear. Sometimes you talk about that stuff. I don't know where they were. This has been a trademark, a hallmark of Roman Reigns matches throughout his reign, is that he would, no matter what they do in the opening, whatever of the match, none of it would matter until the interference started to happen. And the same thing happened here, except now it was on Cody's behalf. And to me, a better finish, and I'm not the first person to say this, but it's something that, I did make note of it in my notebook, and to me, the idea of Cody Rhodes winning the title off of Roman clean as a sheet, all by himself, without any help, was much more interesting, and proof positive that Roman was a chump and could never do it all by himself. he always needed assistance. I think the only match, if my memory is not failing me, I believe the only match that Roman Reigns had successfully retained the Universal Championship without, or whatever they call it, without outside interference was the Claudio match. But that's because no one saw Claudio as a real top guy. But everyone else was interference. So there was even interference in the cage matches. Look, what do you want from me? So it's such a, and you know what the thing is that I'm watching Cena come in. You know, he had issues with Solo Sikoa. It's fine. You know, I get it. And I'm watching him run in, and even the Usos, you know, the brothers thing. I'm like, at least it all makes sense. But Undertaker makes no sense. Undertaker makes no sense. At this point, it's just we're creating a moment, a WrestleMania moment, right? And people are speculating this was Steve Austin's spot. This was supposed to be Stone Cold, who was supposed to be there, and he, you know, refused, couldn't make it, whatever the fuck. So they went with Undertaker. Because yeah, you know, Stone Cold made a lot more sense than Stone Cold appearing there, showing up to Stunner the Rock would have made so much more sense than The Undertaker for multiple reasons, right? And probably would have been, I would have popped a lot more. But, you know, Undertaker just didn't make sense. Look, this was just to create a moment, right? And this is what people are going to remember. And this is what WWE wants her to remember regardless. It's not the match. It was never about the match. Who cares about the match? I'm sure if they could have found a way to just skip to this, you know, never mind the actual physicality and just go straight to this, they would have done it. Convinced. 100% convinced. Because this was about the moment. I don't know if it's Cody's moment. I don't know if you're going to remember Stone Cold and not Stone Cold, Undertaker and Cena showing up. That's what you're going to remember on the night that Cody won the title. You know? Like, I feel it's a kind of, and I understand that I'm probably all alone or I'm in a sparsely populated area, but, you know, I think it would have been a bigger deal and something that they could have sold a lot more if Cody had finally overcome the odds himself, as opposed to needing all the help. Or, you know, you have all the interference happen earlier in the match so that everyone's taken out, but this led to the finish, you know? But look, it got the reactions from the crowd. Internet is buzzing. This was the greatest WrestleMania of all time. It's the greatest moment in WWE history, you know, and I'm like, Jesus Christ. I'm going to say, you know, it was a fun little thing, brainless, you know, just the thing where you're like, huh. The minute you start thinking about it, then it loses its luster. Then the paint starts to peel, you know, the veneer starts to crack once you start thinking about it. But if you want to just live in the moment, you want to get your hype, and all right, that's fine. What, you know, it's fine. It just doesn't connect. Doesn't make sense for a company that does stories so well, you know. So Cody wins after landing a bazillion crossroads. I'm exaggerating. Bazillion's not a number. But he wins. He's the new undisputed heavyweight champion. Talked about it a little previously as to how I feel about it. Roman is going to take some time off. I think that's fine. Looks like Seth might be taking some time off too. Hey, listen. If you were to tell me that Seth Rollins was leaving WWE after all of this, I'd believe you. I would 100% believe you. 100. No doubt in my mind. Because that looked like a send-off. The whole thing. Look, again, I talked about it during the preview. I thought throughout this entire build to this WrestleMania, Seth looked like a complete geek. He felt like the fourth man in all of this, way behind everyone else. Didn't feel up to par. Just looked completely aside to all of the things that they were doing, building this matchup. And then tonight, like, he shows up, the Shield music hits. He pops out of somewhere, the camera people weren't following him. And, everyone was wondering what the hell's going on. And so was Roman. And he shows up with the chair to attack Roman. And it's all happening off camera. But then Roman turns around and Roman lays him out. And he comes in later and Roman lays him out again. Like, if you were telling me Seth is leaving the territory and putting the guys over as on his way out, I'd believe you. I absolutely believe you. He's probably look. He was helped away. He limped away and he was being assisted to the back. Maybe he is hurt, so maybe he's more hurt. Maybe he's going to take some time off too. I'm not saying he's leaving. I would be surprised. But again, look here. Here's the thing. This is what I hope this Cody Rhodes thing does. I hope it creates a new normal for wrestlers. And when I say new normal, a back to the old normal, where people can just go off and leave the territory for a while and come back later. Maybe Seth would benefit from this. I think Seth has been stale for a while. What wacky costumes will he be wearing this week? It's like that wears thin for a while. I think he'd benefit from it. But I don't think he's doing it. Again, like I said, I don't even think he's leaving. I think they just booked it this way, and that's how it's going to go. Anyway. Now let's go through the rest in order. Let's start with night one. We'll break things down. I already talked about the main event of night two, but that's it. Main event on night two, I think my thoughts on it are clear. It's not designed for me, and it's designed for WWE fans. It's for people who remember all this stuff, and whoever found excitement and enjoyment out of it, I can't blame you. It's fine. People were calling this an emotional moment. I didn't feel anything. It didn't strike my nerves. Wrestling does get me emotional sometimes. It does. I get teary-eyed sometimes when certain things happen. This did nothing for me. It did nothing. Thought it was fun. But I didn't get all weepy-eyed and, screw up my announcing. Anyway, night one. Night one, they have, they did not do America the Beautiful. Who did it on, Coco Jones did it on night one, and The War and the Treaty on night two. National Anthem on night one, and was God Bless America, right, on night two. Apparently Vince did not like the national anthem. That's why, at WrestleManias they would always do they would do what Coco Jones. I just said it. Why am I drawing a blank? Not God Bless America, America the Beautiful. Jesus Christ. Which apparently Vince preferred over the national anthem. They never performed the national anthem because Vince didn't like it. And then again, now see, Vince is gone. So night one opened up with the WWE Women's World Title match, where Rhea Ripley successfully retained her title against Becky Lynch. Rhea came in to a live band performance from the band Motionless in White. It was sponsored by Dude Wipes, this match was. I'm sorry, Dude Wipes. Dude Wipes. Do you know how embarrassing that would be for someone to walk into your place and see your little dispensary of Dude Wipes there on your toilet, and because they're baby wipes, but for grown-ups that you can flush, for grown-ups, for adults, for men that don't smell like baby, that don't smell like baby products. They have to have that musk. Anyway, I thought this was pretty good. I think things picked up late in the match, but like when Becky Lynch tried to use the disarmer on Rhea Ripley, and she fought out of it. Rhea Ripley fought out of the manhandle slam as well, and they did this spot where they tumble to the floor, and Rhea Ripley electric chair slams Becky on the floor. 2 riptides, one off the turnbuckle, and another regular one for the win. I am pleased that Rhea Ripley's reign continues. I think Rhea has tremendous upside. Now they just have to give her matches to make her reign meaningful, right? We talked about this last week. I'll repeat it for those of you who didn't last that long, because it was a long one. Rhea has had no really big meat on the bone defenses. She had her win against Charlotte, now her win against Becky. But in the meantime, she's fighting Zelina Vega. She's fighting, Raquel Rodriguez. She's fighting Nia Jax. I said Nia Jax. Zelina Vega. I'm like, what? These are not great defenses. Natalya. It's like Natalya is not posing a challenge. Now they're getting back into the Liv Morgan stuff. Oh boy. I hope the Liv Morgan fans are getting excited at the prospect of another title match. Title run. I told you, she's never touching a world title ever again. She's never touching a singles title ever again. Liv Morgan's title run, when she cashed in her Money in the Bank a couple of years ago, stunk. It was no good, and she was not booked with confidence. She was not booked with any kind of confidence. You could tell management didn't believe in her. Oh, it's a new era, though. Maybe they have confidence in her. Anyway, a nice little way to open up the show. Didn't, tear down the house or anything, but this was probably the best match of the night. The second best match of the night. Because things slowly start to drop off here. The 6-pack ladder tag team extravaganza, or whatever they call it. The Spot Fest. Yeah, look, I'm not saying this, in any way to make this sound like a bad thing. It's a spot fest. It was meant to be a spot fest. That's what it was. And it's crowd pleasing. You got dudes doing incredible stuff. But, I've seen this match so many times before. I don't know. Yeah, a tag team scramble. I'm not into it. I really am not. But look, there was three spots in this match. There was the moonsault, the moonsaults that Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate did. There was that DDT by Gargano, the swing DDT that he did off the apron and drove Pete Dunne in through a table, and McDonough's bump off of the ladder. Outside of that, it's all right. It's fine. And I noticed, and I think a lot of us noticed, that there's that they're using fake ladders here now as well. The ladders, when they started breaking, there was pink foam in there. It was like, I don't get it. I don't understand this stuff. This makes my head hurt. Anyway, look, hey, by the way, 3.5 stars out of 5 for the Rhea Ripley Becky match. I gave the ladder match 2.25 stars. I know I'm on the low end because Cage Match has this at the 7.56. But I've just seen this so many times. So many times. Anyway. Rey Mysterio and Andrade defeated Dominic Mysterio and Santos Escobar. This was actually a kind of a boring match. The crossbody that Andrade and Rey did together was cool, but everything else has been terribly average. They keep talking about Lucha on WWE and how, especially when it comes to Dragon Lee, that they talk about Dragon Lee as being the future of Lucha, and the next Rey Mysterio and so. And there was nothing Lucha about this match. Like, this was absolutely a WWE house style match. It's, if this is what people think Lucha is, my God, it's sad. And Dragon Lee himself, right? He's in this situation where he's booked for this match, but then at the last second he's pulled and they put Andrade in, right? Perennial discontent Andrade squeezed his way into this match. And they took out Dragon Lee instead. Dragon Lee, who they had brought in with great pomp and circumstance, international superstar and whatnot. A lot of us were surprised that Dragon Lee ended up in WWE. Well, there you go. That's what you get. That's what you get. You're not doing the stuff that you're not doing the stuff that brought you to the dance in the first place. They're not allowing you to tear the house down. They're not allowing you to do what you want to do. You just came in, you took the money. Oh, and there you go. I don't know why anyone thought this was going to be different. They bring Andrade in. What do they bring Andrade in? What is the first thing they do with him? The first thing that they actually do with him? Put them in the feud where all the Hispanics are fighting with each other. Have you noticed? It's kind of hard not to. It's like, but look, this is what Dragon Lee wanted. This is your bed. You sleep in it now. It's kind of like Bronson Reed, who hops on Twitter complaining that he's not being used. Hey, we should have a meat match. We could call it the Meat Spectacular. Fans, make this happen. It's like, no. And then he's complaining 2 WrestleManias in a row that I'm not booked. I'm too good for this. I'm too good to not be booked. This is exactly what you wanted. You went back out there. You hit the indies. You went to New Japan. And you kept your phone on for Triple H to call you back. And the minute he called you back, you jumped right back. You jumped right back. You beelined, dropped everything. Sayonara, suckers. I'm on my way back. There you go. This is the bed you've made yourself. Now, like last night, he's losing contendership matches for the consolation prize. So, I got no sympathy for these people. This is what they, this is what they signed up for. Maybe to a degree, I might think that Dragon Lee was maybe not as aware. Maybe. But when it comes to Bronson Reed, he's a guy, he's been there before. You should have known how this works. Anyway, I don't know. This was nonsense. 2 3/4 star on this match. On this match here, I thought it was kind of ordinary. Nothing happening. And then we get the Jey Uso and Jimmy Uso match. Folks, this was terrible. This was legitimately a terrible match. It started off fast, but boy, did it stink up real fast too. Super kicks galore in here. Wish they would sell them more. And there's even time. Look, despite there being so many super kicks, there is still time for community theater. Jey Uso is the stupidest pro wrestler alive to have been suckered into Jimmy going, "No, brother, I still love you." It's like, he's just the dumbest wrestler on the planet. Stunk. Jey won in one of the worst WrestleMania matches you will ever see. And I don't think that's hyperbole. This was bad. It's indefensible. Even on Cage Match, the WWE fans can't stick up for it. 2.87. I gave it a 1. Awful. Awful match. I'll tell you one thing. This main event Jey Uso thing, this moniker that they have going for, who are we trying to kid? Who are we trying to convince? How many times is this guy gonna have these opportunities? I can't call him main event Jey Uso anymore. I don't see why anyone else should. This guy is not a top guy. He's not a main event player. He's not a guy that will be on that level. Look, we see his ceiling now. His ceiling is clear. If he can't get into a ring with his brother to culminate a feud that has been perfectly told, I've been told, that has all the story elements that WWE fans just slap up and they're rubbing their hands together and they say, this is going to be a great match because the story's so good. If he drops the ball so incredibly hard, like he has on this, I don't know what we're doing. But then, look, what do I know and why do I even care? But mostly, why do I know? What do I know? Because he won a number 1 contendership match just last night on Raw. He's going to be challenging for the consolation prize for the World Heavyweight Championship. So it doesn't matter. You could have the stinkiest bomb of a match on the grandest stage of them all, and we'll still try you out. And I don't know, Jey Uso, number 1 contender. I don't think this guy has it. He will never have it. This is his ceiling right here. Mid-card title guy. That's fine. You got to stop with the main event Jey Uso stuff. Stop kidding yourselves. Boy, did that stink. And Bianca Belair, Naomi, and Jade Cargill defeated the Damage Control trio of Asuka, Kairi Sane, and Dakota Kai. You know what? This went exactly as I called it last week on the preview. Exactly. Naomi starts the match, eats shit for the majority of the match. Gets a hot tag to Bianca, who comes in, clears house, but she has a bit of a, the heels get a bit of a heat segment on her to finally get the hot tag to Jade. I know there was a little more back and forth, but Jade comes in and she pulls a couple of moves off and wins the match for her team. Give me the producer job. I know what I'm talking about. That's exactly how I figured it'd go. And that's exactly what happened. But again, this match was just uninspired, nothing really happening. It's just, I guess it was meant to showcase Jade to a degree, just put her over, give her a first big win. Look, they did what they had to do. Let me approach this another way. They did a presentation where they had all three women on a pedestal, right? And they look tremendous, right? And I'm looking at this and it looks great. It's like some Afrofuturism. Aesthetically, it's tremendous. And I'm looking at all of this and I'm like, geez. Then they come off the platform and they all sort of play a bit of each other's songs and Jade just looked like herself, which is not a bad thing. But, it's like, and then I want to say too many things at once. And then she gets to the ring, she does her match, and they protected her again. Like, she did minimal things. And it's like the same thing last night on Raw, where she comes out to have her match with Chelsea Green. And she comes out and she does her introduction, right? She does her intro with the music, which is essentially a knockoff of her AEW theme, if we're being completely honest. Which is fine. I don't have I don't have an issue with it. But you'll see how this ties into my larger point. She comes in and she does her, and she comes out from the back. She walks out and there's like smoke and she's silhouetted, and then she comes in and she flexes and they're doing the camera from the low angled camera, right? To sort of show how tall she is. All right. And she wrestles the match. Let's go back to WrestleMania. She wrestles the match and she's super protected. She does minimal things. Same thing in her match with Chelsea. She does a bicycle kick, which barely lands again. And then she does her jaded and wins, right? And I mean, I look at all of this, everything that's been happening. I have two thoughts. Thought number one, with all the protection that they're putting around her, having her do squash matches and, the way she's coming out, she is exactly the same as she was in AEW. Like exactly the same. There's nothing different about her. There's nothing in her presentation. A presentation that I was told was they had consulted with a dozen other producers just to get a consensus of what would be the best way to approach it. For being so methodical on how they want to present her, she feels very, very much like Jade, which is a good and a bad thing. But the good part is that you don't have to work that hard to get Jade over, I don't think. Not in WWE. I think what's surprising is that everyone was saying this is the best place for her. They'll know how to treat her like a superstar and make her look huge and make her look, And right now, I feel like presentation-wise, it's very simple. There's nothing that's blowing my mind where I'm like, oh shit, they really nailed it. Not like Cody's presentation, right? Which that is a true to form superstar intro. Or Bianca's, right? I'm looking at this, I'm like, this is pretty okay. It's Jade, but I don't see anything special. I don't see any WWE magic that is making her seem larger than life. Jade, right now, even with the camera thing, let me talk on that camera thing. The low angle camera thing, there's like half a dozen other wrestlers that they use that on to make them look big. They do it with Bronson Reed. They do it with Obafemi over in NXT. They do it with Braun. I think they do it with Nia. These are just names off the top of my head. Like, they do it with already a bunch of people. It's not making her feel special, unique. All these things that I was assured that WWE would do well and that I still believe. By the way, I'm not here telling you she should have stayed with AEW. I still believe she is in the best place to get to be her full Jade potential in WWE. I do believe they will eventually crack the code to her. But they've been telling us, and Triple H out of his own mouth have been telling us that she's been not being featured on TV or anything because they want to get her right. They want to make sure that they're having her trained. They want to make sure that they get her right for TV at the right moment, right? As it stands right now, the presentation is very okay. It's fine. It's a WWE presentation, but it doesn't feel special. And in the ring, what they're doing with her right now makes me believe that they know she's still not ready, because boy, was she protected at WrestleMania, and boy, was she protected on Raw last night because she pulled 2 moves. And one of them kind of didn't quite connect. So there you go. So again, I'm absolutely not saying she should have stayed with AEW. I really do believe she is a prime candidate for WWE. I honestly, sincerely believe that. I really do. But when it comes to how everything they told us that they've been doing with her and her production and whatnot, I just don't buy it. I just don't buy it. I think they know right now that she's not ready. They still think she's not ready. We'll see. We'll see how things go on. But Jade is Jade and is going to be Jade. She's over 30. She said it herself. She said, I can't be waiting around too long. What are they going to do with her? We'll see as things develop here. Intercontinental title. Sami Zayn defeated Gunther to become the IC champion. This was the best match of the show, and not even that great. Like, again, not a great match, but it was very, 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 very good. I thought it was a very good match. A great come from behind underdog match for Sami Zayn, who just, had to fight through his own feelings as well as his physical challenges to overcome, or the physical challenges to overcome the hulking Gunther. But is Sami Zayn still an underdog at this point? Like, I feel, they treat the win like a big deal, which it should. He's breaking the record, Gunther's record. But Sami Zayn's a 4-time Intercontinental Champion. Now, 4 times. He main evented a night of WrestleMania last year. I get the Gunther story. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a dope. Gunther is, he's on a whole other level. He's this brute force. He's this, this physics machine. Guy that you can't overcome. He's a final boss kind of thing. I understand. But is Sami Zayn an underdog? You know who would have really been an underdog here? Chad Gable. Chad Gable would have absolutely been 100% an underdog. Probably his first singles match would have been his first WrestleMania singles match, and up against Gunther, to whom he lost against a few months ago. I like Sami and all, don't get me wrong. This was obviously a make-do for the Roman Reigns nonsense from Montreal last year. This was a thank you, Sammy, for being such a team player kind of thing. I believe it. I think the better story would have been Chad Gable. There's your true underdog story. And Chad is so much smaller than, shorter, I should say, than Gunther. It's like, I don't know. It's just a weird story. I wasn't buying it. Where was all this support for when he was challenging Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship last year in Montreal? Where was Kevin Owens to hug him on his way out? I think it's a year too late for this story. And for the underdog story is what I mean. And it's for the wrong title. But I like Sami. I've always liked Sami. I've always liked Sami Zayn. That's not the point. He wins with the generic brainbuster on the turnbuckles that Kyle Fletcher had done just the night before. Makes you wonder sometimes. So he gets the win. The one thing that annoyed me, I thought this was a very good David versus Goliath match. Sami Zayn flopping around like a fish on the mat to regain his health that annoyed me. Gunther taunting the wife so much also kind of annoyed me. I was like, just chop the hell out of him. What are we doing here? But stories, I guess. And then the main event, the Roman Reigns and The Rock defeating Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins. I don't want to go so incredibly deep. We've been talking about WrestleMania for about an hour and 20 minutes now. Look, Rock, all I can say, this is what I'm going to tell you. These are going to be my takeaways. I thought the match was boring and interminable. This shit went on for 3/4 of an hour. An absolute slog of a match that I could not wait for it to finish. I might even still be happening right now. I don't know. Someone will have to check. That Heat segment with Seth was interminable and dull. It was so long. We even had the walk-in brawls. The Attitude Era is back, boys. We're getting walk-in brawls into the audience. But you see The Rock come out. He has the flaming Brahma Bull thing. You see him come out. You see him with those other guys. There's the superstar. It's not even in question who looks the part more in that setup here. It's crazy. Can he still go? Oh no. Old Rock. I was looking at him walk and go, and I was like, oh boy, Rocky, those knees don't bend the way they used to. I'll tell you what. When it was time, they did a redo of last year's WrestleMania's finish. And with Cody landing a couple of crossroads on Roman. Then The Rock hit him with his belt, the what do you call it? The weight belt. There you go. Roman spears Cody, rock bottom by The Rock, and then the People's Elbow to bring this to a close. Because Dwayne Johnson does not lose matches. He is contractually obligated to win his fights in movies. Did you know this? Well, that's where we're at. I mean, this was way too long. And I don't even know what purpose it served to be this long. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Because the main takeaway in this, quite honestly, is how much of a star, how much Rock dwarfs everyone else in a ring when he's there. And they're going to have to be careful with this moving forward, especially with Cody, if they want Cody to have any kind of meaningful long-term championship run. Let's move on to night 2 of WrestleMania. Started off with Drew McIntyre defeating Seth Rollins for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. This was, you know what this was? You know what this reminded me of? This reminded me of the Brock Lesnar sprint matches that he had been having, over the past couple recent years, right? Where he and who's fighting, they're just pulling finishers. They're just pulling finishers, and Brock is throwing guys around, and it's a sprint. One of these Brock Lesnar sprints, and it kind of rocked, but it was also a disjointed match. But I'll tell you what, after the night 2 main event, which was so dismal, and by the way, sorry about that. I gave Walter and El Generico 3 3/4 stars, and I gave the main event 1.5. Dismal affair. So coming off of that 1.5 star spectacular, I wouldn't have been surprised if Triple H got the boys all into a room and the girls, and got everyone into a room and was like, all right, we got to put our working boots on, we gotta, and that was tremendous. It started off in the best possible way, if you ask me. Because after that main event from the night before, I'll take this any day of the week. At least it started off the show with a mark of confidence where they're like, okay, let's try and wash last night away. I gave it 3.5 stars. I thought it was really good. After the match, Jaw Jax had CM Punk in his lovely tailored suit. Nothing says counterculture like a nicely fitting tailored suit. And he being Drew McIntyre, Jaw Jax had Punk, who was there for commentary, but Punk attacks him using the arm brace, and then in comes Damian Priest to cash in the Money in the Bank briefcase, which he does successfully. He becomes the champion. Now, I was listening to Voices of Wrestling, and they made an excellent point that, this kind of Money in the Bank, these types of cash-ins, it cheapens your belt. And it does cheapen what you've been trying to do with the belt, because it's just like someone running in, stealing a title and running away, And the World Heavyweight Championship was already struggling with credibility issues, in my opinion. Seth tried his damnedest, but having a program with, and already, with Shinsuke Nakamura, who's been all but forgotten as anything close to being a top guy. Seth didn't elevate it to the point where commentary likes to tell you it's been elevated to. It's the workhorse title. Sure, look, Seth wrestled often for the championship. He was a fighting champion, but it's not a workhorse title. We all know what the workhorse title in WWE is. It's fine. This title had credibility issues, and this stuff doesn't help. It just shows, here's the point that they were making, that I agree with. It just goes to show how much WWE cares about the title, which is not much. Because if they had cared about the credibility of this title, they wouldn't have done it. They would have found something else. Or they'd do away with Money in the Bank altogether. Isn't it strange that no one ever cashed in their Money in the Bank stuff on Roman's Universal Championship or the Undisputed Championship? Isn't that peculiar? Why is that? Protecting a title, making it feel strong, making it feel safe. No one even tried to. They kept it out of that zone because they know what Money in the Bank is. What it was Austin Theory who ended up cashing in on the US title? Come on now. Let's get real here. And frankly, I felt bad for Drew. I was like, is Drew the babyface? Is Drew the babyface in this thing here? Because yeah, he did lose it because of Punk. Who's the babyface? Who's the heel? I wish this was a Rocky 3 story. Anyway, at least the heel cashed in. At least. But, you know, of course, we're not rating that match. Don't rate that, but 3.5 for the McIntyre-Rollins match. The 6-man tag team Philadelphia Street match featuring special guest referee Bubba Ray Dudley. The Pride, which is Bobby Lashley's group with Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford, the Street Profits, and B-Fab. They defeated the Final Testament, which is Karrion Kross and the Authors of Pain, with Scarlett and Paul Ellering. This was dull. I got nothing for you. I thought this was dull. Nice to see them paying tribute to ECW by doing the classic ECW Dudley spot of "Was that?" I got nothing. But this turns out to be the worst match of the night. I gave it 2 stars. So I'm a little antsy at this point. I'm not, especially B-Fab is so incredibly green. We got to stop this right now. This goes exactly in line with everything that I talk about when we talk about Maxine Dupree. You know, they are insisting on putting these people on TV when they are not ready to do the wrestling. They're just insisting on putting these people on television over and over and over again. And then it just ultimately it doesn't help them. It's a detriment to their career, to their development. Send them to your goddamn PC. I don't know what you want from me. Like, isn't it clear to me? Clear to you? Clear to us all? I don't know. LA Knight defeated AJ Styles I like this match a lot more than what I was expecting to. This was tremendously well worked, strong pro wrestling match. I like this a lot, actually. I don't even remember enjoying an Eli Drake match this much. But listen, for what it's worth, you know, whatever this was about, Styles can still go. This was a grudge match, but it felt like a grudge match. It started like a grudge match. You know, they didn't like each other and they didn't start up with a collar and elbow lockup. You know, it's like they just went for it. Obviously, look, AJ Styles did most of the stuff in this match, and LA Knight ate bumps and shots and whatnot, and that's fine. That's fine. Don't get me wrong. It's absolutely fine. Very good. Very good. 3.5 stars from me on this. It was good. It's nice to see that AJ can still go, even though he's built like Randy Savage now, bursting at the seams. You know, LA Knight gets a WrestleMania win. I still feel like the wind, I think the LA Knight ship has sailed. That's just me, but I'm not saying that. I don't think he's as hot now as he was last year. Sure, they can heat him up, but I think there was a moment last year where he was very, very molten. So 3.5 for me on that one. Logan Paul retained the U.S. Championship by defeating Kevin Owens and Randy Orton. Since we're talking about good matches, let's go. Here's another one. There's another. Lots of great stuff on this match here. Owens and Orton worked well together, did stuff, as a team to gang up on Logan Paul and reviled Logan Paul and got the crowd excited. They were really into it. Paul, look, we say it every time and everyone talks about it. He's just great. And my opinions on Logan Paul as a person and as a performer are two different things. Like, I still don't personally like the guy. I think he's a scumbag. He's a scammer and a liar. I think he's got a very obtuse moral compass. I don't like him. He's not from, he's not a guy that I would freely associate with. How about that? But as someone who observes wrestling, I cannot deny that this guy is just a fucking natural. He's got like a dozen matches under his belt, and he's working WrestleMania like this is his 6th or his 7th. He picked this up so naturally, and then that's the thing is then is this what WWE expects from some of their people, that they just throw, like BFAB, that they just throw them out there and go out and wrestle? Do they expect them all to be Logan Pauls? Is that the ceiling? Is that the floor? Because Logan Paul is the ceiling. It's the opposite. He's unique. Having picked up on wrestling so easily, being so disgustingly good at it. He comes out with the water bottle, the Prime bottle. And of course, if you've seen this before, you're expecting that there'll be someone in there that Logan Paul will fight on behalf of Logan Paul. And it turns out it was YouTuber Ice Show Speed, who I am somewhat familiar with, if only because of the controversies he's been involved in. He's one of these very loud, raging YouTubers that just also thrives off of controversy. Perfect fit for Logan Paul. Anyway, he gets laid out. Match comes to an end with Kevin Owens pop-upping Randy Orton, who comes back down into an RKO. Paul runs in and tosses Orton to the floor. And then Logan Paul goes up to do a frog splash and gets the win. There you go. I thought it was, again, a very good match. 3.5 stars. And then we had Bayley successfully defeating Io Sky to become the new WWE Women's Champion. This was also quite good. I thought this was very good, actually, as well. Crowd was into it, and they were doing the "Hey Bayley" chants, and this was solidly worked to the capacity that Bayley can work in now with her injuries and whatnot. It's not exactly the spry Bayley we used to have, back in Brooklyn. This is, it's another lady here, but I thought this was really well worked. I enjoyed this a lot. I think they put on a tremendous wrestling match. And Io did some beautiful moonsaults as expected. Sunset flip in the corner by Bayley at some point, which was also tremendous. Yeah, I mean, I don't have I don't have many thoughts here, other than this is Bayley's first singles win at WrestleMania, and it's bonkers that it took so long. It's just bonkers that it took so long for Bayley to get a WrestleMania singles match and win it, and then now she's a champion. I just think it took too long. I just think it took too long. And I'm going to ask the same question that I asked this week as opposed to last week. Will people buy into, will the WWE fans buy into Bayley as a babyface? Because I believe that most WWE fans that exist today do not remember or have no clue about babyface run, mega babyface, mega NXT babyface. It's Bayley. I really don't. I think most WWE fans just know her as the annoying cackling heel, which is fine. Which is why I don't know how this babyface turn is going to work. I really like this. I thought 3 3/4 stars for me. I thought this was very, very good. Just shy of being great. If we had gotten a second gear, this is the thing in most WWE matches is that we never change gears. There's never like, we're moving up. Usually get to third gear in these really great matches. We seldom get that. That's why it's like, I look over the entirety of the WrestleMania card. I look at the entirety of the WrestleMania card and it's like, I don't understand. I don't understand why we didn't get a single great match. Not a single match that just was able to switch gears and give us something tremendous. I just don't get it. I don't understand what blocks what it is in the house style that you're supposed to block, right? Because it's not as if the main event wasn't designed for that. I think Triple H could have told anyone on this night, go out there, steal the show. Because, the main event, it wouldn't have cast a shadow upon the main event if someone on night 2 had come out with a 4.5 or a 5-star match, a 4 3/4 star, 5-star match. And then the main event happens. The main event was going to get the reactions that it got regardless. It was going to be tremendous regardless. I don't know. WrestleMania 40 XL, it's in the books. I think people are going to remember it for one thing and one thing only, because it's an otherwise forgettable main event, an otherwise forgettable WrestleMania, which has lots of bad, decent amount of good, but nothing great. I think it's an absolutely forgettable show. Not bad, not overall bad, just very balanced. I'm leaning more towards I liked it rather than I hated it. Anyway, it's time to talk about other shows. Since we're on the topic of WWE, let's talk about NXT Stand and Deliver 2024. It happened on April 6th at the Wells Fargo Center, again in Philadelphia. This is the big WrestleMania NXT show. 16,000 people, they said, were there. That's highly dubious. I don't think so. 13,000? I don't think there were 16,000 people at that show. It didn't look like it. But let's get right to it. Let's jump right in. I did not watch the pre-show between Joe Gacy and Sean Spears. Other than knowing that the Ridge Holland retirement was entirely a work, He attacked Joe Gacy during this match. Well, and he's probably going to become a disciple of, Guru Sean Spears or whatever the fuck they're doing with him. It doesn't matter. But I did not watch the match. I did watch Baron Corbin and Braun Breaker defeating Axiom and Nathan Frazier to retain the NXT Tag Team titles. I enjoyed this match. I enjoyed it a lot. Good action, good pacing. No methodical heat segments. These guys went out there to get the crowd into the show from the get-go, and it worked. They started pulling moves, started doing really cool stuff, exciting, fast-paced. It worked. This match just clicked. Nathan Frazier is great. Axiom is great. Breaker still has his issues, but I think he's improving. I think he's getting better. I think I think he doesn't know how to develop a crowd connection yet. I don't think he's developed that yet, but it'll come. And Baron Corbin is who he is, but he's got working boots. He had them on. They all work. I enjoyed this. We got Spanish flies and 450s, along with some power moves, Axiom gets railroaded by Braun Breaker at some point. Baron Corbin tosses both of his opponents over commentary, but they roll back and clobber him. Phoenix Splash by Nathan Frazier as well in this. It's a big spear by Breaker that seals the deal, gets the job done. So there you go. I didn't hate this. I liked it, actually. Enjoyed it tremendously. 3.5. Then we had the North American title triple threat match where Oba Femi defeated Dijak and Josh Briggs to retain. This was also very good. In fact, I thought this match was kind of great. Just low-key great, but still great. Just dudes doing cool moves. And sometimes that's all you want. And listen, look, I'm going to echo. Suit Williams did the review of this over at voicesofwrestling.com. You should go check it out. You can have the most intricate stories ever assembled, these great stories that built to the match and, with weaving throughout all these levels of drama. But everyone pops at cool shit. Everyone in an audience seeing cool moves happen, get out of their seat. They're like, this fucking rules. And this was exactly this kind of match. The Oba Femi spot, where Josh Briggs is on the sitting on the corner turnbuckle, top turnbuckle, and Dijak comes over to climbs up and wants to super DVD him off of the top. But as Dijak is setting up, Oba Femi comes in and slides between Dijak's legs and lifts him up on his shoulders. So you have like a Tower of Doom, but for DVDs. So you have Dijak, who is on Femi's shoulders, who is holding Josh Briggs in a Death Valley driver position on his shoulders. An incredible feat of strength from Oba Femi. And trust me, they like Oba Femi. I like him too. I still think he's green. I don't think he's a polished product, but he has more finishing than a lot of these other dopes that they have coming out of the NIL. I think he gets it. He's a natural. As far as development goes, he's kind of like a Tiffany Stratton, where you've got all of these people in the NIL, these gymnasts, these lacrosse players, these grass hockey players, these volleyball players, whatever sport that doesn't have a a true to form professional league that you can go to after your college years. Out of all of that batch, you have, Stratton stood out because she got it and she had the charisma, she has the presence, and she was able to develop quickly, smartly, all the things that differentiate a good pro wrestler from a very good pro wrestler. And she's on the very good side of things. So she just stands above most of these other goofs in NXT. And I feel like Obafemi is the same way. He shares a division with Brian Pillman Jr. And Obafemi is like night and day already in regards to star power, presence. And Pillman's been doing this for years, and it's in his family. Anyway, Brian Pillman catching strays for some reason. That spot was tremendous. Hated the finish, if only because of this stupid production, where cameraman, they've got Dijak's got Briggs in a submission, and Femi, they zoom in on Femi, not on Femi, on Dijak, and I'm like, why are they zooming in on him? And then it's because out of nowhere, Obafemi's hand grabs him by the throat. I'm like, oh, this is so dumb. Just move on. And Dijak rules. Dijak is tremendous. And maybe he's satisfied with the role he has now. It could be he's just really happy with what he's doing now. But he's throwing, feast your eyes is everywhere. He's being tremendous. I thought, and Josh Briggs, might not always be my cup of tea. Solid worker. I got no complaints about this match. I really don't. This was probably, if I'm not mistaken, this was probably the best WWE match of the weekend, in my opinion. I think I liked it better. I think I liked it better than Sammy versus Gunther. I liked it better than the women's match, Bayley versus Io Sky. I'm just looking through my notes here. Yeah, I mean, this is probably it, which is telling. But no disrespect, but it's also telling. It was probably the match of the weekend, and this match finishes, and I'm like, hey, wait a minute. Am I enjoying an NXT show? And then the six woman tag team match happens, and then it all kind of goes downhill. Fallon Henley, Kalani Jordan, and Thea Hale defeat Izzy Dame, Kiana James, and JC Jane. Izzy Dame, JC Jane, Kiana Jane. With Jasmine Nix. These names are obnoxious. Anyway, this was just not good. Bunch of green women being put in the ring together, being put on a PLE on WrestleMania weekend, asking to do big things, put on a big show put on a big match for a big show, and it doesn't deliver because they're all punching above their weight here. This was sloppy and slow and has that annoying, I don't know what you call it, a trope, or it has this annoying feeling of where you're watching the match and you feel like you're seeing the women already thinking about how they're going to do their next spot as they're doing the current spot. Does that make sense? Because they're green. Because they're rookies. Because they have like a handful of matches to their lifetime, in this house style, this performance center style. So you see them thinking about setting up the spot. So there's nothing natural, nothing flows. Thea Hale gets Izzy Dame to tap. People really like Thea Hale, right? From what I understand. Then after this match, they introduced Julia, who was in the audience, who will be reporting to the Performance Center. This was revealed over the course of the weekend that Julia has indeed signed with WWE. She was sitting in the crowd with Rossi Ogawa and William Regal, who was sitting right between the two. Good for her. You know, a lot of people are, a lot of WWE fans are going, yes, they're doing they're doing the victory baby meme, yes, we got her. She's ours. We won this one, It's like, none of them know who she is. None of them have watched a single Julia match in their life. They really haven't. And you know how I know? Because a lot of people who are going, Julia, great get, can't wait to see what she does in WWE. This is fantastic, great news, are also the same kind of people who will call Japanese promotions indies, and I'll never watch these things, or we'll talk about, what are the rules of a Stardom match, They just give themselves away, But look, she settled into her position, and she's going to report to the Performance Center so she can unlearn throwing shoot headbutts on people. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? She gets into the ring with fucking Izzy Dame, or little Kalani Jordan, and she just throws her a shoot headbutt, and Kalani Jordan is like, she doesn't know what to do. She's got this huge knot on the top of her forehead. This is what she wanted. Good for her. She's a Rossi girl. Rossi was there, soaking up the limelight as well. He's probably getting some startup money for his new promotion. He said today, before I recorded this, excuse me, something in my mouth. What the hell? What just popped into my mouth? Is it I don't know. What was that? Is that a fly? We'll have to watch the tape. Rossi was saying that he's going to do a press conference very shortly in regards to his new promotion. Again, I wouldn't be surprised that WWE has its tendrils in this in some way or fashion. Nick Khan recently said, as well, that WWE is open to working with other promotions. And people are acting like, oh, finally. But WWE has said this multiple times. We're open to working with other promotions if, but they'd always add, if the business is good for us, and so on and so forth. And, we've seen WWE work with other promotions, pick up other promotions, Evolve, Progress, so on and so forth. But they always have a clause, WWE does, or at least they had back in the day, where WWE could decide to shut down the promotion at any given day. Is that still going to be the case? We'll see. But I wouldn't be surprised if there's a little more. I mean, look, if WWE wants to work with more people, open themselves up a little bit, I'm completely fine with that. I think that's actually good. It's good. It's good for the wrestlers, especially if it's guys and girls that they're not using on TV. Send them off. Let Zoe Stark go have a little tour of Japan and then win all of her matches because she's not jobbing out to anyone over there, kind of things. Like, that's fine. If this is a new era for Triple H and all of that, then it should be a new era business practice-wise as well, right? Can't always follow the same Vince adages where it's just like, just crush the competition under heel, right? It can't be that anymore. Anyway, good for Julia. We'll see what happens. I hope she enjoys her time there, and then it goes better than Sari's time. We'll just see. And it's funny how much credit they're giving William Regal for this. You know, he's there. So as if he scouted her. As if he found her out of the bowels, the deep recesses of independent wrestling in Japan. Christ, like, this is one of the top 5 women's wrestlers in the world right now. What are we doing? It's like, pump the brakes. Oh, William Regal played such an important role in it. Ah, come on. Roxanne Perez defeated, wait, did I give my star rating 2 3/4 stars for the 6-woman match? Roxanne Perez defeated Lyra Valkyria to become, once again, NXT Women's Champion. This was dismal. This was bad. Boring. I think Roxanne Perez's heel persona suits her more, but she still isn't good. And these emotes that she does, these stupid facial expressions, it turns everything off for me. Click, 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 click. I can't do Roxanne Perez anymore. I can't take it. I don't think she's half as good as she used to be, and people will try to tell you that she is, but she's not. And I think, look, Lyra Valkyria, it's not as if Lyra Valkyria was this breakout star. She's a fine wrestler, solid wrestler. But if she can't get anything better than this out of Roxanne, I don't know what to tell you. And it's not as if Lyra had this great crowd connection either. She's great, she's fine, but she's not a standout star. Like, she was always a bit of a weird choice for NXT champion. Crowd was dead for this match. I mean, dead. And I'm watching this match, and was I entertained by this show like 20 minutes ago? 30 minutes ago? Wasn't I enjoying this? What the fuck happened? What am I watching now? This was bad. Tatum Paxley got involved for some reason. I know they're doing a friendship thing with a tense friendship thing with Lyra Valkyria, but this match was heatless, sloppy, and soft. And I couldn't help but think that just a few minutes previous to that, we had Julia showing up. Julia's going to be here. What is Julia going to do in these environments? Or what are these women going to do with Julia? Like, this is your top program of your women's division. Roxanne Perez is your top woman. What is she going to do with Julia? What is Julia going to have to do to put these women over without exposing this entire division? And here's another point. You know how I tell you often, WWE fans, they pop for, this is what they want. They want to pop for entrances. They want to sing along with they want to sing along with the entrances whenever they can. They'll pop for tables and they'll pop for finishers. This is exactly what happened. Completely dead match, reaction for the finisher when they happened. I got no use for this. Bad. I gave this a 1 3/4 star. It's not good. Ilya Dragunov successfully retained the NXT title by defeating Tony D'Angelo. This was not very good either. This match, this show, when it started going downhill, it just went. I was very disappointed when D'Angelo got the number one contenders. Like, I knew it was improbable that Carmelo Hayes, because they did the whole number one contenders deal weeks ago. And I knew, and it was down to D'Angelo and Carmelo Hayes. And I knew that they couldn't reasonably do Carmelo Hayes, because then it was like, well, isn't the big payoff for Stand and Deliver Trick Williams versus Carmelo Hayes, right? And I was like, they can't really do that. Are they really going to go with Tony D'Angelo? And they did. And all throughout the weeks leading up to Stand and Deliver, I'm like, there's going to be a swerve. Someone's going to move in and kick D'Angelo out of the spot. But no, he stayed there. Tony D'Angelo, a very mid meme wrestler who shouldn't be sniffing top titles. I think I was excited to see what kind of carry job Ilya was going to do. And I kind of saw it. I think D'Angelo is not very good. I think he even managed to drag Ilya down. Because I think Ilya is not an AJ Styles, where AJ will just bring a guy up to his level kind of thing. You know, he's not a Will Ospreay. I know maybe unfair comparisons, but he's still a guy who can get a good match out of you, right? You can get a good match out of you. And I think he tried with D'Angelo, but D'Angelo can't keep up. It just dragged. And Ilya hit the H-bomb is his finisher. He hits the H-bomb on the floor through a table, and the match continues. I'm like, well, what? Okay, whatever. It doesn't matter. Ilya retains, but Tony D'Angelo, man, he's a meme. He's a meme wrestler. That's all there is to it. That's what he's good for. It's harsh, but it's still, that's still what it is. And finally, the main event, Trick Williams defeated Carmelo Hayes. I thought this was okay. I thought this was all right. I didn't particularly think this was good. And I can tell the NXT universe, the WWE universe, didn't think it was all that great either, because they have it as 6.4 on Cage Match, where you'd think this was the kind of thing that'd blow through the roof because it's a big story match. They've been telling this one for years. Oh, it's been so well told. What a great story. Kind of connects to what I was talking about earlier. You know, with the Obafemi match. You can have as much story as you want. People will pop for cool shit. Well, you can have as much story as you want if you have a bog standard average match. It'll be a bog standard average match regardless of the story. And it's a grudge match. Like, these guys were best friends. Carmelo Hayes betrayed Trick. He was screwing with him for months, and then he betrays him. And it's this personal story, and we start with a collar and elbow lockup. Nothing says grudge match more than a collar and elbow lockup. Right from there, I'm like, I'm deducting points. The judges are scribbling on their notes. Right from that point, I'm like, this stinks. This was the softest grudge match I have ever seen. And I'm not asking them to go like all Swerve and Hangman Page on each other where, you know, with one dude drinking the other dude's blood. That's not what I'm asking. But even LA Knight and AJ Styles, which had a fraction of the build that these two dudes had, started off before the bell with LA Knight attacking, jumping onto AJ Styles or whatever the fuck. I hate this kind of stuff where it's like they build it as this personal feud, and the guys just stand across from each other. They're waiting for the bell pop. That's what they're doing. They're waiting for the bell pop, but the audience doesn't respond because the audience is waiting for these guys to tear each other apart. Because that's what they've been doing in the build. In the video package that you get before, they're in these pull-apart brawls and people, no, you got to stop. Oh, this is too violent. And Jesus Christ. It just kind of happened. This was a TV match. This was a TV match. Standard, uninspired television match. Are they trying to stretch the feud out past this? Maybe. That's my only reasoning. But at the same time, this is a PLE. This is the biggest feud in NXT. The one that everyone talks about. And I mean, look, Carmelo Hayes, man, again, I don't see it. I don't get it. I don't see the big superstar potential that people see in him. I see him as a fine upper mid-card guy. Like, he's a perfect Jey Uso. I think Jey Uso is a perfect comparison as to where I see Carmelo Hayes, but he's not this second coming. He's not this big-time main event. I don't see it. I do not see it. I didn't, barely saw it when he was wrestling Dragunov, and he's the vet here. Trick is green as hell. Has potential, but it's green as hell. And Carmelo's the vet here. He was working the indies before this, right? Christian Casanova. This is a guy who should be able to guide a guy through a match, but he does to guide a guy through a match and elevate him, bring him up. I don't know what happened, but it didn't click. It didn't work as a grudge match, as a match. Very boring, very just stuff happening. 2 3/4 stars, and that's nonsense for a main event. Like, just nonsense. But this NXT is nonsense. And for a moment, I had a ray of hope. For a moment, I had a little glimmer of hope. I was like, my God, am I going to start watching this more? No. They tried to reel me back in, but no. I'm not. I can't recommend watching it. If you want to watch the Obafemi Dijak Josh Briggs match, I think that you'll have a good time watching that. I really like that match. Great start to the show. Everything just fell downhill. Let's move on to Ring of Honor Supercard of Honor. This one happened on April 5th, 2024 at the I never know how to pronounce this. Liacouras Center in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. 3,266 people, according to WrestleTix, were on location. If that is the case, tremendous walk-ups. Tremendous day of walk-ups. Because that show, they had trouble putting the butts in the seats in this one. They really had a hard time finding people to get seated for this match, for the show. I can't blame them. I can't blame them. But, yeah. Again, it kind of looked like a 3,200 building. Whole sections were tarped off. Look, might be a little higher. Might be a little higher than what it was, but anyway, if that is the case, tremendous day of walk-ups, I'll tell you what. We had a pre-show that I did watch. I'm going to go through it quickly. The Premier Athletes trio of Ari Daivari, Josh Woods, and Tony Nese defeated Adam Priest. Excuse me, what was that? Pardon me. Defeated Adam Priest, Rhett Titus, and Tony Deppen. That's fine. The Beast Mortos, the former Black Taurus, now kicking off his new persona because he's no longer with AAA. Defeated Blake Christian. Ever since I've my surgery, my oldest son has been living with me just to take care of his broken old father. and he's been watching some wrestling with me. He's not a fan. He will appreciate pro wrestling, but he's not like, all right, let's go. It's Wednesday night. All right, let's go. It's Monday night. It's none of that, right? But so I'm watching the pre-show and he's in another room, and I said, hey, you got to come see this guy, Black Taurus. He's tremendous. You know, and against Blake Christian. He had seen Blake Christian with me because we had gone to the Dynamite taping in our hometown a couple of weeks ago, and Blake Christian was there for a Ring of Honor taping. I was like, hey, you've seen this guy? I said, oh, okay, cool. And I'm like, but this guy, the Beast Mortos, he's just tremendous. Like he's gonna blow your mind. And it was a very tame Black Taurus match. Like it was good. It was good. It was a good little match. Nothing more though. But I was where's I hope this new persona doesn't mean that Black Taurus is no longer really fucking cool. Cole Carter and Griff Garrison defeated the Spanish Announce Project, Angelico and Serpentico. Sure. And Mariah May defeated Momo Kogo, which was pretty good, actually. It was a hard-hitting Stardom-style match. It's good. I liked it. So let's go to the main card itself. And this show, I didn't think it was great, you know. And I'm kind of on the curve of Supercard of Ring of Honor pay-per-views, which are, ever since Tony Khan took over, have been great systematically. I think this is the first not great one. I think it was fine. I don't think it was egregiously bad, but there's some bad stuff on the card, and there's stuff that I'm just, well, this ain't doing it for me. It feels like the whole theme of the weekend for your boy Warren. Kyle Fletcher and Lee Johnson, though, for the Ring of Honor TV title, did not leave me indifferent. This was tremendous. A tremendous, great moves match to kick it all off. This is, you kind of want these matches once in a while where it's just, you're pulling moves, you're just doing stuff, you're doing real good. And again, people then are popping, they're out of their seats, they're excited for it. Why wouldn't you be? Two athletic young guys going at it. Look, it just Super Destroyer by Johnson lands two frog splashes, can't put Fletcher away. Fletcher does the generical brainbuster on the turnbuckle for the win. And again, like I mentioned earlier, the night after, Sami Zayn is doing the generical brainbuster on the turnbuckle for the win. Look, Kyle Fletcher continues to show he's got the stuff. It's just as simple as that. He's got the athleticism. He's got the capacity to put on great matches. The rest is all up to him, right? But it's so he's so good. He is so ridiculously good. And Lee Johnson was very good in this match, but not as much of a standout. And I think this is inexperience speaking, just as simple as that. Because he doesn't get as much reps in as Kyle Fletcher has, or a lot of guys on the roster. This was not a bad showing by Lee Johnson by any stretch of the imagination, but maybe not the star-making performance that you might have expected or wanted. But he held his own. He more than held his own. He contributed to this match. This was terribly good. He's not quite there yet, but look, if he continues to wrestle guys like Fletcher in these types of matches, he's going to pick up shit really, really quickly. Really, really fast. I enjoyed this tremendously. I thought this was great. 4.25 star. And I'm like, rubbing my hands together, like, let's go. We're off to the races. Then we get the Stardom showcase match where Mina Shirakawa and Maika defeated, and Mei Seira, of course, defeated Tam Nakano, Azumi, and Saya Kamitani. I thought it was a good, well-paced affair. Everyone gets their shit in, particularly Mina, who, it's a bit of a showcase match for her because they're obviously, when I say obviously, in case you don't know, there was a Stardom match this weekend in North America or late last week, and Tony Storm showed up and to sort of poke the bear at Mina. And we're likely going to get Mina and Toni Storm very, very soon, or at least upcoming weeks, maybe through a Forbidden Door kind of thing. So, you know, Mina had a lot of shine in this match. Great rolling German by Kamitani in this match as well. Huge bat fist by Mina. Lots of near falls towards the end. And a nice little final sequence that sees Mina land a cross-legged driver for the win. I like this. I gave it a 3.5. It's, you know, if you've seen... The thing is that if you've seen a Stardom multi-women match before, you've seen them all. And this fell into the mold. Like, there was nothing really special about it, right? There was nothing really that would blow your mind and make you go, oh my God, the Stardom stuff is tremendous, you know? It was good. But I've seen this match before, if that makes sense. You think they might have turned up the juice a little bit, but it was good. You know, I'm complaining with my belly full, I guess. After the match, Mariah May showed up to celebrate with Mina, who was her mentor, I guess. You know, she had the same role that Toni Storm had in Stardom. So they celebrated together. So maybe a bit of a story beat here with the Toni Storm thing. Toni Storm egging on Mina, and then you know, with and then Mariah May looking up to Toni Storm. Will she be caught between them both? That's probably what's going to happen. But yeah, there you go. Undisputed Kingdom successfully retained their Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championship against the Infantry. This was fine. I don't know. I wasn't really into this. They didn't drag me into this match either. Like, you know, it's not. I no ill will against anyone in this match. It's just they didn't drag me in. Spot of the match was Charlie Bravo jumping off the stage onto Taven, and then Wardlow shows up out of nowhere to cost the match for the Infantry. It's like, I gave this a 3, and I'm like, well, what's going on here? You know, what's happening? Why are we circling down? Why did this feel like we're circling downwards here? Spiraling downwards is that's the word I was looking for. I could see the spirals. I could see the circles, but not the spirals. It's spiraling down. Yeah, so there you go. Like let's move on. just move on. It's fine. Then we got the tournament final for the Ring of Honor, the new Ring of Honor World Women's World Television title, where Billy Starks defeated Queen Aminata to become the inaugural champion. I really like this. I really, really like this. A truly back and forth affair that was solid, smartly put together, well paced. And then you start seeing the moves, right? You get like the Billy Starks and her twisting Yushigoroshi. You got Queen Aminata German suplexing Billy Starks to the floor. And I'm into it. And you sort of feel the progression. You sort of feel it. And I'm really into it. And I'm like, this is good. This has been solid stuff. And then you get the injury, or the fake injury, where Billy Starks fakes a neck injury. And I'd be a complete insincere buffoon. I would only be spewing out malarkey if I didn't tell you that they got me. They just plain old got me. Billy Starks sells the neck injury. And then they pause the match. And then they do the thing where where you can where where they cut away from the from the wrestler and they cut to commentary and to make you feel like something serious is happening, and medical jumps in, and I'm like, and through my head, all I'm thinking is, Jesus Christ, she's not even 20. What the actual fuck? Fuck this stupid ass sport. It's like, this sucks. I felt really bad for, I felt so bad for her. For Billy. And they got me. But they stopped getting me at a very precise moment. At first, for a time then I was like, this is kind of weird that they're always cutting to Queen Aminata, though. It's kind of weird. And it's kind of weird that they're not just like, end the match, So, and I didn't see X's being thrown up, but the camera wasn't always on the referee, so I'm like, But I found it a little weird they were on Aminata so much. But then the moment that did it for me, the moment where I was like, oh, this is all a fucking work, you goddamn assholes, was when they put Billy in the soft neck brace instead of the fucking rigid ones. And then they have her sit up. It was like, no, if they have any kind of spinal injury, they're stretching her out, they're bringing out the board and they're rolling her onto it with the fucking stiff brace, the fucking plastic polymer thing. But I'll be goddamned if it didn't get me. I'll be goddamned if I wasn't sitting there with my heart in my mouth. I was like, oh my God. No. This fucking sucks. And and then I was thinking of the discourse and I was like, oh my God. The next few weeks are going to be absurd. But no. Aminata's opening the ropes. At this point, I'm like, oh, this is all working. She's opening the ropes for Billy, and I'm like, oh, okay. Okay. Billy attacks her, chokes her out. She wins. I'm going to tell you, I like this angle so much that I'm still keeping this at 4 stars. I'm keeping this at 4 stars because I like the angle. I thought it worked, and it made people mad. It made people mad because they got worked. Now, can you criticize Ring of Honor for doing this type of angle where they're using like shoot reactions, like what they usually do in a shoot injury, for an angle? Yes, I think that's okay. At some point there's things you shouldn't mess around with too much, right? But I think it worked. It worked really well. I got no issues with anything that happened in this match. No issues at all. So the match, like I said, was going so well, and I enjoyed it, and I thought it was a blast. And my only quibble that I have regarding this match is that with the angle is that without the angle, if we hadn't had the angle, we probably would have had a true match of the weekend contender, I feel. I think we were on the way there. But the angle had to get into the way, and I know it's an Athena thing. I know it makes sense in the story. But in the story of this match, it kind of bums me out. But congratulations to Billy Starks. And you know what? Queen Aminata, man, poised for greatness. If she continues to polish off her in-ring and improve, she's going to be a superstar. She's just, I am thoroughly on board on the Queen Aminata train, which is good because I got off another train. We'll talk about that soon. Yeah, I thought she was tremendous. Absolutely fucking tremendous. Absolutely tremendous. So yeah, Yeah. Yeah. No, she's got the look, she's got the charisma, she's got the presence. She's got so many naturals down. She's very good in the ring. I think she's only going to improve. Like she has star power written all over her. And I think Tony sees that. Tony Khan. I think he sees that. She's gonna be something special. Then the Bullet Club Gold came out for a fight, which was not. I think they were supposed to lay out a challenge. Like it wasn't advertised as a fight, but they're like, no, we're gonna fight. So Lance Archer and Alex Zane come out, the Monster Sauce team. As Lance Archer said, one of not one of, but the top team in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Who are you kidding, Lance? You know, work is gonna work. And then Minoru Suzuki comes out to run as a surprise to round up the trio. Yeah, you know, Minoru Suzuki's cool and all, but you know, I think the novelty has worn off a little bit. I think he could benefit from taking a little break because you know he has a pattern match in the U.S. North America. He has a pattern match, so you know it's not as exciting as it was a while back. Let's put it that way. Anyway. So he says, why do you keep following me? So he's being Jay White. Jay White says, why do you keep following me? And they're in the ring together. He calls him a young boy, and then they ring the bell. And then this was fine. I gave this this is kind of fun, you know, but where is it? 3.5. Oh yeah, I enjoyed this. Why am I being down on this match? I enjoyed it. This was Bullet Club Gold's first defense of the Ring of Honor 6-man tag team championship. Can you believe that? Solid match. Everyone worked well. Suzuki was going rogue for a while, I think, in the match. Jay White gets the win with the switchblade after the match, the Acclaimed run in, brought me down. It's so crazy how over. Look, longtime listeners know the Acclaim was never my cup of tea. It was never my thing. But it's crazy how much the Bullet Club Gold are cooler than these dorks. And they're dorks. Don't let it taint you. The Acclaimed are dorks. And they always have been. But right now I'm like, ugh. Like, I can't do them anymore. I think I'm pretty done. Anyway. That's what we got here. 3.5. It's fine. Look, let's just move on. We're going long again this week, it would seem. Then we have the Fight Without Honor match. Dalton Castle defeated Johnny TV. This was not good. This was not a good match. It started off with a lot of honor, not a lot of dishonor, with some big basic plunder bullshit. The pace was so slow, and I'm screaming at my television halfway through. At that point I didn't know it was halfway through, but like about 10 minutes in, I was like, screaming at my TV, wrap it up, boys. Wrap it up, boys. And I don't know why this is going so long. It was a 22-minute match that felt like a 40-minute match. It felt as long as the fucking main event of WrestleMania Night 1. And there's so many comedy yuck spots in this, because it's a John Morrison match. And he can't contain himself. He's got to do the sports entertainment. I didn't even mind the boys spot, right? Where he's bringing in all the replacement boys. Dalton has done this in the past when the Tates were, there was another time that the Tates weren't around Ring of Honor as well. rehashing this. Yeah, and the boys, he's throwing the boys, and I'm like, to a degree, it's comforting because I've seen Dalton do this before, and I like the idea of him using these big, dopey, out of shape boys, throwing them around like weapons, which is, that was fine. But the other, it's all junk. Like the rest is all junk and a waste of time. And Paul Walter Hauser comes out and to no reaction. He's got a mask on. No one knows who he is. No one reacts to his entrance, to him coming down. And he's got a t-shirt on that no one can read. And this was so, and I'm at the end of this match, I'm like, why is this in Ring of Honor? Why was this match in Ring of Honor? I don't understand. And I get that Dalton is not the Dalton that we used to know. The back issues and whatnot, I understand. He can't do the things he used to do. But there's a fucking limit to what you can do. To what we can stand. Like for nonsense like this. This was nonsense. This was trash. Who wants to see John Morrison in 2024? Who is sitting down, typing furiously on their keyboards, on their forums, on Reddit, on X, formerly Twitter, on their favorite Discord? Where is John Morrison? I need more John Morrison. I don't know anyone who is clamoring for more John Morrison in 2024. They're barely clamoring for him when he was a thing. It's fine. Get more TV, get more Hollywood gigs, John. You're actually pretty good in them. What was the thing that I saw him in? The thing with DDP, the parody of the Avengers. You know what I'm talking about? It's on Netflix. It's that guy who does all of the wacky superhero teardowns. With all sorts of mixed media. I actually enjoyed that. I thought it was fun. It's not brilliant. I thought it was fun. I don't remember what it was called. He was in that. He's good. I don't know. I'm done with John Morrison. 2 stars for this piece of shit match. Paul Walter Hauser. What are we doing? Athena versus Hikaru Shida also happened. Shida lost the match. Athena retained. I didn't think it was as good as Cage Match is telling me. 8.31. A solid 3.25 stars for me. I thought that was pretty good. Nothing more than that. I think this is, there was some good stuff, the MK Ultra on the ramp and a Meteora by Shida. Tremendous powerbomb spot that started with Athena rolling her up into position and then it ends up on the floor. Like just tremendous stuff. Shida's kicking out of the O face and Athena's kicking out of the katana. And I think this is the least interesting Athena match I've seen from her. And I really like Athena. And I think she's been completely reinvigorated, reinvented in Ring of Honor. The whole discourse that goes around it. Like, I think that one of the most undersold concepts that we have regarding Athena that isn't discussed enough is how much she is Ring of Honor. I think she mentioned it in a promo, and I was nodding. I was like, yep. Like, no one is more identifiable to Ring of Honor than Athena as the champion. And I think she's the face of that company. I really do think she is, outside of anyone else they had cycle through there, because she's the only one that wrestles exclusively there. The guys all show up on on AEW, so they don't feel special to Ring of Honor, but Athena does. Athena, she's having a tremendous reign with reason. She has completely reinvigorated her career. She is a force. She's better than I have ever seen her. I think and it isn't pushed enough that she is truly the wrestler that you identify as being Ring of Honor. When you think about Ring of Honor, she's the first person that pops into my mind. No one else. Not Dalton Castle, not, Mark Briscoe, no, or Eddie Kingston before that, or no one. Not even Claudio. No one, since TK took over, is more Ring of Honor than Athena. And I think, like I said, combination of her being great, of her being wrestling exclusively on Ring of Honor, and her taking all of this by the horns. You got to give her all the credit in the world here. She seized this opportunity and she made goddamn sure that no one would ever take it away from her. Like, she is clasped on to this. She's tremendous. And I think she did the best she could here with her Karlach gear from Baldur's Gate 3. I got the reference. I played Baldur's Gate. I'm still in Act 1. I still know the reference. I'm still in Act 1. I haven't played in a while. I have to go back to it. I'm at the Goblin Base Camp. Now I'm trying to spring people from prison. Fun times. Just did the last thing I did was the pain goddess thing, to get the buff. That was something. that was something. Back to the match though. Look, okay. Talked about it earlier. I about being on the Queen Aminata train, and which is fine because I got off of someone else's train. I am completely off of the Hikaru Shida train. That's it. I'm done. The night of Supercard, I posted that on the in our Discord. All right. I am off and I have never seen my Discord be so vehemently opposed to one of my opinions. You're wrong, is what was the constant. Warren, you are wrong. I don't think I'm wrong. But I'm done with it. I think her offense is soft. I think she's slow. She's a step behind. I don't think she has her heart into it. This is not the Hikaru Shida from the pandemic era. I'll give you that. I will absolutely give you that, because at the time she was carrying everything and she was crisp. She was snappy. Everything worked. But her recent appearances on AEW, I'm like, her match with Toni Storm at, what was it, Full Gear? Was it Full Gear World's End? Look, it doesn't matter. That was kind of bad. And then I'm thinking to myself, what is the last great, when is the last great Hikaru Shida match? And I promise you, look, y'all are going to point to me the Emi Sakura match that she had on Dark. Well, first of all, it's Emi fucking Sakura, okay? First and foremost, who should be able to have a great match with, me. Emi Sakura should carry me to a 3 3/4 star match, okay? Easy. But even since then, it's been very, very mid, very sloppy. She's not who she used to be. She really isn't. And in the, I know what the defense brigade is going to do, because look, she defends. They're out there and they're strong. No, she's great. But she's not now. I'm off the train. But what they're going to say is, well, she's never booked. On AEW, okay, sure. But she could wrestle elsewhere. She has wrestled elsewhere. Why isn't she wrestling elsewhere? What is she doing in her spare time? Is she training? Is she doing? I don't know what she's doing. What is she doing? Yuka Sakazaki hasn't been booked in, she had her first booking last week in AEW in like 2 years or something like that. She's been wrestling in Japan nonetheless. Been doing gigs. Staying in it. It's not as if Tony Khan will forbid. I don't think he will forbid Shida from, working her promotion or whatever it is that, that little promotion that she has on the side, Wave or what, I can't remember the name. I'm sure he's not going to forbid her from working, freelance in Japan in the meantime, is what I'm trying to say. It's weird to me. The thing is that she really did used to be very good. Now I don't see it. If you told me this was someone pretending to be Hikaru Shida, I'd buy it. I'd be like, yeah, that's pretty much what it is. But it's not who she is anymore. Whatever she is now is not the Shida that everyone gets excited about. I know she puts on a suit. People get really horny for her. That's fine, But I think people are attracted to the concept, the image of Hikaru Shida, as opposed to Hikaru Shida, the contemporary wrestler, and what she does in 2024. Anyway, it's time for the main event, where Mark Briscoe defeated Eddie Kingston to become the Ring of Honor World Champion. I thought this was a great match, bookending this show wonderfully. Kingston goes right for Mark's head. You get some blood real early in this match, and it puddles in the ring at some point. And they're just chopping the other guy up, right? Just like chops, and they start throwing suplex at each other, and Kingston even suplexes Mark off the apron. It's just tremendous. Mark is kicking out of back fists, and he lands the J Driller for the win. Solid, brutal, brawling pro wrestling. Guys just kicking the shit out of each other. Felt good, felt nice. It was a nice moment, but I can't help but draw a parallel with Cody. Was this the right time? Should have this not happened last year? Maybe when we were closer to the unfortunate passing of Jay Briscoe. Maybe Mark should have won the title then. It was a nice moment, don't get me wrong. They had the family in, and the locker room came out to celebrate, and it was a nice moment. You cannot not say that it wasn't a nice moment. Eddie, it was his pleasure to do the JOB here. But listen, it was a nice little time. It was a good main event, I should say, and a nice moment that they had there. And Mark worked hard. He was going to juice his, there was blood everywhere. This was coming up. And as they said, the anniversary of Jay winning the world title in Ring of Honor. So just a nice little what's the word I'm looking for? A nice little convergence of things, right? So, it's like, yeah, okay. No, I enjoyed this. I enjoyed this tremendously. I thought it was a great main event to end it all, and as we spoke about, Eddie Kingston losing his titles. Keep on going. This keeps on going. The strong title is next. The strong title is upcoming, so that'll be the next one. Like I said, I don't have an issue with it. I believe a lot of the magic of Eddie Kingston is in the chase, as opposed to him being on top of the world. Being the guy who's chasing after the titles is much more interesting to me. But I thought this was a tremendous match. I don't think I have much more to say outside of it. It was very good, great finish. Right man won. Everything just came together, and basically bookends this pay-per-view with with a great match. So it starts with a great match, it ends with a great match, but everything in between is sort of like fine, good to it's kind of good to bad. So, not the best Supercard of Honor, and definitely not the best, definitely the worst of the TK era of Ring of Honor as far as the pay-per-views go. I don't have much more to add on that front, but I absolutely recommend the Kyle Fletcher Lee Johnson match. That stuff was just tremendous, I'm going real long, and I got to wrap this up. So let's get to this real fast. There's regarding New Japan Pro Wrestling Sakura Genesis. It's not as if I had. It's not as if we had like tons of stuff to talk about it. New Japan is in a weird place for me right now where it's I want to be into it. I want to be into what's happening, but everything just sort of feels so average right now, right? And I had hopes that some of the business end of Sakura Genesis would, reignite that spark and give me the impression that it's like, okay, here we go, we're going in this direction, but I don't know, man. Sumo Hall in Tokyo, 6,632 were present for the show. Look, let's just go with the main event. We'll do it that way for this one. We'll go top to bottom. Tetsuya Naito defeated Yota Tsuji to retain the IWGP World Heavyweight title. I mean, good match, very good match, actually. Let me get my notes here. I'm completely out of sorts. There we go. Like a very good match. That was a Naito, had all the Naito signatures that we usually see, and that's fine. And Tsuji looked great. That was fine, but we didn't crank into another gear. It's kind of the theme of the entire weekend of wrestling that I watched. Not a lot of matches were hitting that other gear. We're just switching and moving forward. I gave this match 3 3/4 stars, but there was a lot of great stuff. There was some great bumps, fantastic moves. You see the stuff. You see the, Naito working the neck, doing the full leg Nelson, the short arm elbows, working the neck throughout the match. Hitting his Destino variants and all of that. And Tsuji, well, he's doing power bombs and Frankensteiners and a Blue Thunder bomb and spears and all that. And the crowd is into it. The crowd helped out this match tremendously. They're really into it. What's undeniable in this situation, when you look at this match, what is absolutely undeniable is that Yota Tsuji is a star. The crowd are so easily enamored by this guy. They want to cheer for him. They want to be on his side. He's an easy layup for the company. I can understand that they still want to pump the brakes a little bit. We've got Windy City Riot coming up this weekend, with the Naito's going in there and he's facing Jon Moxley and the title's on the line and all of that. By the way, I think Naito's going to lose, but hey, that's a whole other thing. Naito, but Tsuji is very good at what he does. And the audience are naturally gravitating towards him. And Tetsuya Naito is still ungodly popular. So the audience for me helped elevate this match a bit. I thought that was very good. This is a tremendous match, but not one where you just... And I'm waiting for this match where you go... That's the thing. Anyway, I liked it. I liked it a lot. Destino for the win. Naito retains. We're still going down that that train, which is pretty good. Again, I don't have much of an issue with this match. I actually thought it was very good. I just wished we'd hit another gear, which was my feeling of this entire weekend of wrestling, actually. Shingo Takagi defeated Evil to become Never Openweight champion. I mean, look, I thought this was good, but there was still a lot of House of Torture shenanigans, you know. Yoshinobu Kanemaru was supposed to be the special guest referee, and he eventually did referee when there were ref bumps, and you know, then a phony Bushi comes in, and it's obviously Dick Togo, and everyone sees that it's Dick Togo except Shingo Takagi, and it's like, my God, you know, Bushi doesn't have arms like that. Shingo, what are you doing, you know? And then Hiromu runs in, everyone runs in. And I thought the match was off to a good start. It's always the same tale with the House of Torture stuff, right? It's always the same thing. It's like, I don't know. Look, Shingo's the new champion. Ushers in a new era for the badass title, hopefully. That's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm expecting. But I don't have much for you here. 3 stars. It could have been better. Jon Moxley and Shota Umino defeated the team of Jack Perry and Ren Narita. See, this match, I like this quite a bit. I'm much higher than Cage Match on this. I went quite high as opposed to that. 3 3/4 stars on this for me. I thought this was very good. And as far as House of Torture shenanigans went, were there any? Like outside of Narita trying to swing the push-up bar, the pull-up bar, whatever the fuck it is. Don't need a bar to do push-ups, Warren. You know, like outside of that, tremendous stuff. I thought well worked, smartly put together. Good work by everyone involved. I'm very much on this Jack Perry stint here. I think it's working. I think it's working out pretty good. The Shota Umino gets choked out with the bar, but we get a Death Rider on Ren Narita for the win. And there was no House of Torture nonsense. I enjoyed this match. Do you think John came in and he's like, I don't want this bullshit. I don't want to deal with this. Solid. It's good stuff. The match between Sho and Yo really didn't happen. Yo seemed to have dislocated his elbow very early in the match. Actually, did they even ring the bell? I don't quite remember. But the referee stopped the match. Medical came out. Sho retains via referee stoppage, which then brought out afterwards Kosei Fujita and Dookie to line up to be opponents. Best of Super Juniors is coming up though, but you know, started to stake a claim that we're here. And again, I'm kind of digging where it's like some new faces. Well, look, Kosei Fujita as a new face in the light heavyweight division will be tremendous. And Dookie getting some more shine is equally, if not more, tremendous. So I'm looking forward to that. Of course, it's unfortunate that Yo got hurt, but he really couldn't continue the match. You can even see like the bone. It's kind of gruesome. But yeah, so that was quite unfortunate for Yo in this situation. Bishamon defeated Bullet Club to regain the IWGP Tag Team titles. Time is a flat circle, etc., etc. I mean, at least Chase Owens and Kenta we don't have to get this forced down our throats anymore. This was very mid. I don't know what to tell you. I really don't know what to tell you. Oh, I forgot to mention that after the Never title match, Shingo Takagi got laid out by Gabe Kidd, who went out on a rant, threatened to stab Hiroshi Tanahashi, who was right there at ringside. And he's jockeying for the next spot, for the next challenge. Listen, I know a lot of people don't like Gabe Kidd. I like Gabe Kidd. And honestly, I don't have an issue with him. Like, he's unhinged, loose cannon. A lot of people think it's forced. I think it works. I enjoy it. I enjoy him tremendously. Then we had the junior heavyweight tag team match where the War Dogs, Clark Connors, Julian Maloney, successfully retained by defeating both Catch-22 and the Intergalactic Jet Setters in the match of the night, and that's not even close. Tremendous. Just great action, fast-paced, just brilliant stuff from top to bottom. The great spot where Kushida is dumping everyone over the guardrails into the audience, and then Kevin Knight goes up on the top rope, and he just dives all the way into the audience onto the dudes who were there. Exciting. Where everyone's getting their shit in. Crowd is into it. Very close moments throughout. There's one where Kushida locks in their hoverboard lock on TJP. Kevin Knight does the same on Francesco Akira, and you think this is going to happen, but the War Dogs break it up. The Jet Setters do some Motor City Machine Gun tributes as well. Spears by War Dogs to hit their finishers. Good stuff. I give it 4 stars. That was the match of the night. It's tremendous. Catch-22 continue to be with, like, honestly, one of the best tag teams in pro wrestling. And then you had the usual you had the usual undercard matches. Dookie Sonata and Yuya Uemura defeated Callum Newman, Great O'Con, and Jeff Cobb. The LIJ duo of Bushi and Hiromu Takahashi defeated the War Dogs duo of Dave Finlay and Gedo. Dave Finlay, after this match, seemed very pissed off, very annoyed at losing the match. Maybe something is going on there. Kosei Fujita and Zack Sabre Jr. defeated El Desperado and Taguchi. And the pre-show Frontier match had Tomohiro Ishii, Toru Yano, and Oleg Boltin defeat Ayato Yoshida, Chicharito Shoki, and Takuro Niki, with Yoshida and Ishii standing toe-to-toe and doing all that good stuff. So there you have it. That was Sakura Genesis. A completely skippable show. New Japan is in a weird rut, and it breaks my heart, but it really is in a weird rut, and I hope it gets out of that weird rut, because it's not something good is going to happen down the road. Something very good is going to happen. I'm excited for it, but boy, is it taking a while to get there. It's taking a while to get there. I know we said we were going to preview Windy City Riot, but I think I'm going to wrap this up, honestly. We've been going on for a while now, and I can feel my throat is starting to collapse upon itself. So let's just close up this week's weekly wrestling inspection. Well, there you have it, folks. Thank you all very much for joining me once again this week on this wonderful path that we're on, which is the world of professional wrestling. Hope you enjoyed these reviews. I will be back hopefully this week, Tuesday. I had a bit of an issue last week, but I hope I'm back this week for another Dynamite review. Otherwise, I will be back next week with another edition of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. If you're watching this on YouTube right now, remember to subscribe. I drop little individual videos as well as we go along, not just these long form things, shorter stuff as well. So become a member of the YouTube. Well, just subscribe to the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel and become a member. That will also show some support, which would be tremendous. I will be, well, I told you when I'd be back and all of that. Join the Discord as well. It's all excellent stuff. Thank you very much for being here, and I'll see you next time.